Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the What the Fluff podcast Conversations. We have with us an amazing creator and human, Facebook streamer turned Kick streamer. Amazing story, and I'm just excited to talk to him about everything that he's going through, how he manages his mental and his life. We got Prdgal. Here we freaking go. I'm ready for you now.
Let's go.
Yeah, okay. So, let's start at the very beginning. How do we get to where it's one of the questions I feel like I'm stealing from Diary of a CEO, but what are some of the important things of your past that have led you to being the person you are now? Let's kind of wind it back.
So, I feel like first off, thank you for having me again. I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course.
This is such a blessing, and I'm super blessed to have you and a couple other creators that I can look up to and have looked up to for the past few years.
Thank you, man.
No, so I can always attribute, and I don't know, not everybody can attribute to this. Obviously, my parents. My dad is old school. Both my parents were born in 1955. To put some of this in retrospective, so. Very old school, blue collar, grew up in Baltimore City. My family, mill workers, stuff like that, of that sort. German family heritage. My family's been here in the States since the 1600s. So growing up, yes, I can attribute a lot to my parents. My dad, very hardworking. That's where I get my work ethic from. Very strong-willed, give you the shirt off my back kind of thing. And then my nurturing side, my loving, my compassion, all comes from my mom. My mom, literally, she can walk anywhere in our neighborhood, and people, hi, Miss Deb, and like just run up and hug her because she's like the neighborhood mom.
Nice.
I get goosebumps just talking about my mom because she's just such. Everybody can, I won't say everyone, but a lot of times you hear my mom's like awesome. Like, yes, that's my mom too. She's just so wholesome. But even with having, and I have amazing brothers, I'll get to that, but I lost my oldest brother, but I had two amazing brothers, an older sister. I was the youngest of four siblings. So always had the sibling rivalry. My brothers were much older, 13 and 15 years older than me. And then my sister was 2 years. So I'll be 36. My sister will actually be 38 here in 5 days. So always had that, and that kind of molded and shaped me. The neighborhood I grew up in, like I say, was very blue collar, a lot of lower class and like some middle class families. So that's where I get my hard work and my ethic, but there was a lot of drugs where I grew up in Baltimore. So, at a very young age, that started to mold and shape me as well. That's where I get my street smarts from. Really my savviness and stuff like that. But I was blessed. I went to great schools, had some good values. I don't agree with all of them now. We'll just say I went to Catholic schools my entire life. I'll just without delving
Catholic
too
high
deep.
school as well. So I hear you.
Yeah. So, pup, like, I appreciate the good education. I was afforded a good education, so I'm very appreciative of that. But the rest of it will just, My first, it started in high school. I should have graduated in 2005, graduated in 2006, because I sold weed in school, to be very blunt. Got kicked out and had to repeat. But I was in my first rehab in 2006, December of 2006.
And you're how old?
I'm 36.
Sorry.
Sorry, at that point, oh my gosh, 19.
Okay.
19, because I was born in 87.
Okay.
Yeah, so first rehab, because September is my birthday. First rehab, I made it about 4 or 5 days out, and I was back in the same rehab. After that, was in a recovery house for about 50, 60 days. Heroin was my drug of choice at this point. I had already graduated from Oxycontin. It started Percocet, Oxycontin, then to heroin.
Do you mind me asking how that started? Was it an injury that was prescribed? Was it just something that other friends were doing? So dude, that's the
injury.
Fucking my God.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
Injury. And again, now to just take it back real quick to refresh, where I grow up is very easy access. Okay. Super easy access, because where I'm at this point in time, doctor shopping is a big thing. people are getting prescribed perks and oxys left and right. I mean, this is big pharma's like when they were making
bread and butter.
Buck.
Yeah,
You know it. And so I came full circle, or not full circle. I apologize. I end up in Florida at a long-term treatment facility. And I mean, I did well. It was long-term, 6 months. I dabbled a little bit here and there with, that's when the Roxy cottons were really big, the blue 30s. I started dabbling in them and kind of went downhill. Didn't get involved in heroin because heroin wasn't big down there. It was very, very, very hard for me to get. And fell right back into it. And I moved back to Baltimore because I just couldn't afford to live. I lived in St. Petersburg for about 2 years. Started up in Treasure Island and St. Pete Beach, and then ended up in like downtown, like Old Northeast St. Petersburg.
And how old are you now in this? So if you went to your first rehab when you were 19, how long is this all going? Okay, so this is all in a span of a few years.
Yeah, this is very short time, 2 to 3 years maximum.
Okay.
And from there, when I came back home, my parents were always, like I said, very loving, compassionate. My dad, very hard nosed. So it was like, Mom, hey, bring the baby home, because I was the child. I was the youngest, man.
Yep.
I'm very, we can save him kind of thing. And in all actuality, they were just enabling me. My dad kind of saw that, but has so much love for my mother that, do whatever to make your mom happy kind of thing.
Yep.
And I mean, I robbed and stole from my parents. I'm very open and honest about that. I mean, blind. Robbed my parents blind.
Yep.
And I was never a thief or anything like that. But when I got really bad on heroin, I just wasn't myself. And I did things that I would have never done in my true form. I just call it my true form. And from that point, I became homeless because my parents kicked me out shortly thereafter that. This is 2000, when I came home. So 2008, 2009 is when I was in Florida. I came home in 2010. 2010, I am at my parents for a very short amount of time. I get kicked out. And then I'm kind of bouncing all over the place for the next year and a half.
Okay.
This puts me into the end of 2012. Now, mind you, through all of this, I had gotten into trouble. I mean, I've already got a felony on my record at this point. That was a felony, a conviction that I got. I had a really good attorney, and that's the only thing my parents helped me out on.
Nice.
I got weekends, okay, and because I was using so much. Sorry to bounce. I'm backtracking
keep bouncing.
A little bit.
I'm gonna already ask questions that'll backtrack, so keep going.
When all this stuff happened, I had got charged with stolen firearms.
Okay.
There was no tracing them, anything like that. The only thing that wound up getting traced to me was a piece of jewelry. Coincidentally, the person I was staying with, it was his parents. We were both getting high. But I got put with pawning the jewelry so he wouldn't look like the bad guy. Is what it is. I own it. Still did it. Neither here nor there. So I called a felony for it because it was over $1,000. It was theft over $500. I didn't show up to my weekends in jail. Now, mind you, I'm sitting in court ready to get charged. And I asked my attorney, I'm like, do you think I'm going to go home today? He's like, no.
Oh, shit.
I waited a few minutes. So I was like, hey, I got to go to the bathroom real quick. And I ran out of the courthouse that day.
What?
This is in Towson, Maryland. Okay. Towson, Maryland. I don't know. There's a big mall there, Towson Town Center. The courthouse is right there. And I ran up towards the mall. And then I get a phone call and it's my mom. I eventually went back and I got put in jail. And, because I hadn't showed up for my weekends because I was getting high. I had gotten sentenced to 30 weekends and I showed up to one and I was dope sick the whole time and I just said no more. So they gave me my time. I had to do, because in BC, DC, and Baltimore, I forget what it is, but you get good time. You get double bunk time. So you're losing I think you get like 5 to 10 good days a month, as long as you don't get in trouble. So
what does that mean? Good. What is that? All me.
You get good time, so you'll get time taken off. If you don't get in trouble, get write-ups. Per like the state, they just give you good time. And again, it's been so long.
What does good time mean?
It's just like a state thing where like they'll give you a percentage. So if you serve 30 days, they'll give you 10%, let's just say as a number, for every month that you don't get in trouble. Because I mean, when you're in jail, you're fighting, scrapping, any of that stuff. That's a write-up. That's an infraction. That kills your good time. So you could potentially get sentenced to 12 months and only have to serve 9 months on that because of good time. And that's how like York County is. So it's just like it's written in to like the sentencing guidelines and all through the state that and it's not guaranteed. Like I say, it's kind of like you get it. If you fuck up, they take it from you, or they can take it from you.
So good time, I guess, is another name for like helping for good behavior, like good behavior reward.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, I do my time. I get out. It was like 48 days I had to do, 48 days in Baltimore County. And then I got out of that. And I went right back to it, man. I mean, like I say, this is when I go and I'm homeless at this point, essentially bouncing around. I mean, at this point, the people that I'm hanging out with. If you hear about people that hop trains and stuff like that, like you see the people that are like popping through towns, like, and they got their dogs with them in backpacks. Like that's the people I was rolling with because they were getting high too. I was once, like doing all this crazy shit, man. Like I say, and two guys that I grew up with, one, God rest his soul, is no longer with us, even though, you know, we got in all this trouble together. They offered me to drive them. Now, this, to put it in time frame, this is after about 8 months to a year of me kind of bouncing around, staying on couches, doing whatever I could.
2011 ish. 2012.
Yes, 2011 into 2012.
Okay.
So, no, yeah, beginning of 2011. Yeah, because it was about.
So you're 24, 25. You
24, are? Yeah, 24. I'll be 25 that September because I get arrested that December.
Okay.
So roughly right after Thanksgiving. Now, mind you, at this point in time, I'm working for the local 19 whenever I can get a call. They are the stagehands local.
Okay.
I go to like First Marion Arena, Merriweather Post Pavilion, and I help unload all the trailers for like WWE, all the big concerts. You know, I got to do Rush when they did their tour, you know. So I go down, I remember I'm working at the Lyric Opera House. I think it was R. Kelly or somebody doing this show. I swear, this is how long ago it was. And I get a phone call. Hey, man, do you want to take a ride with us up to PA? You get a chance to make some money. And I'm really struggling for money. So without question, without hesitation, absolutely. Get in the van. After I get off, now this is like midnight. They explain to me like, oh, we just want you to drive us up here, drop us off. And what they're essentially, I'm not incriminating myself. I've already been charged for all this. I already did time for all this. So yeah. This is how fucked up though. You're going to hear how the judicial system is and the criminal system is. So drive these guys up there. They're breaking into self-storage units. Okay. So no people are living in there, anything like that. I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't really see any harm. We're not hurting anybody. I mean, we're stealing at the end of the day. But I'm like, I just always tell myself I'd never break into somebody's house or anything like that. I just no. So I ride up with them the first night. They kind of scope out, show me where we're going to do this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I go out with them on a second occasion and they do 2 storage units in one night. And then I go back with them the next night because it went off without a hitch. I would literally drive them up, drop them off. They cut a hole in the side of the fence and they would literally just pick random lockers and cut them open and then bring all the stuff to the fence. And then I pull back. They call me. I pull back up with the van and they'd load the stuff in there. We drive back to Baltimore and then they had people that they sold it to. And of course I got like pennies on the dollar, dude.
Naturally.
Like the first time I went, they gave me $200. Okay. I mean, I'm talking, we had a 40 Cano Line 350 work van, like big van loaded up in the back. Yeah. I mean, dude, they stole it. Well, then I go out with them the second time and they tell me like, hey, you're going to park up here. and then we'll call you the same way. There's a car wash to show me. Boom, boom, boom. I'm sitting at this car wash, and not even 15 minutes later, I get surrounded by Pennsylvania regional and Pennsylvania state troopers. I got a t-shirt on, sweatpants. This is December. They make me get out of the car. It's snowing, mind you.
Oh, not surprised.
I am fucking shaking because it's cold. They're telling me I'm shaking because I'm nervous. I'm like, whatever, dude. What are you doing here? I come up with the story that I drove two buddies up to meet these girls, dropped them off. I was heading up to my cousin's house in Glen Rock, but I got lost.
Nice.
Right. So that's why I pulled over into the thing. They didn't believe me. And the reason they didn't believe me is because when I say they, the two guys that I had been doing this with the past 2 days had been doing this for like a year prior. So they've been building a case against these guys. And I only find out all of this after, because I get arrested. And the reason I get arrested right there is because when they cut into the fence, the cops were already there waiting for them. When I have my discovery, you get a discovery. Okay. So when you catch charges, pup, right. And you get, you're not getting indicted because it's not federal. But when you get charges brought against you, you can ask for your discovery. And your discovery is, and this is after charges have been brought against you, you're waiting for a court date and all that. Typically, you can get it at your pre-trial conference. Pre-trial is prior. A lot of times they'll offer you a deal, or your attorney will try and make a deal, or whatever, or you at least have the evidence presented to you. So your discovery is everything that they had building the case, all the evidence they have against you, what they're going to charge you with, so on and so forth. Well, this is where I see pictures. They literally have pictures of them driving up from Baltimore, coming through. They had like camera checkpoint, points here.
Yeah.
So they've been building a case against these guys for months, right? They got caught. The one dude, Larry, got away. Drops his phone as he's running from the cops. Now, mind you, this is when I'm sitting up at the car wash. The dude, Mike, who's no longer with us, God rest his soul, gets caught. He tells them my full name and where I'm at in his van. Okay. I have this in my discovery. All right. So they come up and lock me up. Larry gets away to 83, somehow manages to get a phone call off, and his brother picks him up. Now, we get grilled and questioned. Okay. Mike gets grilled first. I get grilled second. And then they take us to York County Prison. Now, when they grilled me, I'll tell you straight up, bro, because they'd already said, like, the cops will usually try to pin one against your boy told on you. Well, I already knew that my boy told on me, because how the fuck did they know where I was sitting at in his
exactly where you
van?
were? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, brother, come on. So I told the cops, look, this is the second time I've been up with, and I just said Mike and Larry. Straight up, people could be like, you snitched on your boys, whatever. Listen, bro, you say whatever the fuck you want. Because I told him, this is the second time I've been up here. I'm done with this. Like, I got a fucking drug problem. I was on the methadone program at this time, still shooting heroin at this time, pup. I was just like, I'm done. No, I'm not trying to play this. I didn't have money for an attorney. I just wanted my hands to be done.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I drove up here with them yesterday and today. We scoped it out yesterday, and this is the second time I've been up, and then you guys pop me, get Mike. Larry winds up getting charged as well. I'm sorry, I fast tracked a little bit. When they transferred us from the state troopers barracks to York County Prison, right? You get put into a holding cell. And you're waiting to get processed in. You got to take your pictures. You got to get, a TB test. You got to do all this shit, right? You get your wristband. I fall asleep in the holding cell because it's like 4 or 5 a.m. I wake up at like 8:30 a.m. and Mike is gone out of the cell. And I asked the guys in the cell, I was like, what happened to him? Oh, he posted bail. So they had already bailed him out and left me sit. So I sit for like 40 or 50 days. I forget the time frame. I go to court. I get released on supervised bail. I go back to Baltimore and I start getting high. Supposed to be coming up there, doing drug tests and stuff like that. And I'm fucking missing them, this and that. And then they violate me and lock me back up. and I have to sit in jail again until I can't remember if I got released to a recovery house after like 9 months or something like that, right?
Okay.
I'm on what's called county intermediate punishment. It's called CIP program. And the way that this is laid out, you're supposed to do, they break it down, whatever your sentence is, you do a percentage of time in an institution, so like a jail, you do a percentage of a time in like a recovery house, and then you're on like parole or probation for the tail end. And you know, if you do all of this, then you know none of this stuff is on your record. It gets wiped off completely.
Okay.
If you screw up in any way, shape, or form, they can take all of your time and resentence you. Well, what do you think I did? I'm not using it this time. I wasn't getting high, but I was drinking.
Okay.
And I didn't know that these urinalysis, they were testing for alcohol. So I go into my PO's. Yeah, I go into my PO's office one day and he slaps this paper down with like 25 or 26 dirty urines for alcohol and tells me that the county is done with me. They're going to resentence me and they're going to hand me over to the state. Now, mind you, this day when he tells me this, I had like 770 some days of time served already in in York County Penitentiary is what they call it. It's YCP county jail. I had so that's over 2 years.
Yeah.
So I had to go back, be held in YCP. I get sentenced. They sentence me to a SIP, state intermediate punishment. And I'm in the courtroom refusing it. No, I don't want that. I just had a CIP and look what happened to me. You guys, this is how the criminal system works, pup. They are farming people, dude. They are. It don't, and I'm being serious. It don't matter who you are. If you come from, if they can get you with a charge, man, and they can keep you in the system, you're a dollar sign at that point.
Yeah.
You're a dollar sign, right? So I get sent up. I have to refuse the SIP program. Okay. So I get processed and all. I got to go up to Camp Hill. Then I get sent back from Camp Hill back down to York County. I had to sit for 2 months. I get resentenced. Now, the day I go in to get sentenced, I had an attorney. I'm supposed to get released that day to a recovery house. Probation had agreed, you know, he's done enough time. You know, I'd had almost 2.5 years at this point.
Yeah.
I was like 2 years, like 2 months time served. And we had a senior judge sitting in from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It was not the judge I was supposed to go before. And his nickname is C. Murda.
Sick.
And he tried to throw the fucking book at me. And what that means is he tried to give me every bit of time that he could give me. Yep. Meaning, when you get charged, I had all of my charges, pup, were conspiracy to commit burglary, conspiracy to commit theft, conspiracy to theft by unlawful taken. Like all of this stuff was all conspiracy. It all carried the same weight as if I actually committed the crime myself.
Which is ridiculous.
It's insane. So he wants to sentence me to the maximum statute that you can on each individual charge, right? Now, my mom and my dad are in the courtroom at this point. He's talking about giving me 109 years.
Right? What?
I was kind of like, I was scared, but I knew he could legally, if he tried to give me that, I would appeal it and it would get thrown out. But yeah, he was like, you know, I could give you this amount of time and and so on and so forth. And I'm just like, okay. So ultimately he sentences me to 2 to 4 years to run, because I had these cases. They combined a lot of stuff. I had 2 cases. I got sentenced to 2 to 4 years on these, which I had time served already. And then he gave me, because he's a douchebag, a 2.5 to 5 years. So he did that so that I would have to go back upstate, and then he gave me a program. So I had to go back upstate. I'd already got my number after that. Now that's me waiting like 2 weeks after I get sentenced. I go back upstate. Now this is all in 2016 when I finally get resentenced, right? To finish my time. I go up. This is what I'm talking about. I kept my nose down. I didn't get into any trouble. I got right into my program. I did my program, which was 4 months long. And 2 weeks after I finished my program, I got called up to parole board. And that's essentially to come up to question you. look at your history as an inmate, if you finished your programs, if you have any write-ups or anything like that. And I got lucky before parole board, and I got my green sheet, which is your release paper, like literally 10 days after I saw parole.
Nice.
I got released on Mother's Day, which was the Sunday, 2017. And I remember it because my mom and my dad were there to pick me up. I was incarcerated up in Laurel Highlands, which is Somerset County, which is about 3 hours from Pittsburgh. Okay. It's like southeast of Pittsburgh, right? I was in York, where I was living currently. And like, that's what they do too. They send you as far away as possible from your family, essentially. And my family's in Baltimore. So it was like, I forget, it was like 5-hour drive for them to come up and see me. And then they came up and got me. And legitimately from that point forward, I've literally turned my life around. My one co-defendant passed away through all of that. And this is how crazy the criminal system is. So when this was all said and done, I had to pay, I think the total was like $24,000 in restitution. Jeez. Now, mind you, this was, I got charged with everything that they had done prior. So I had to pay a portion
no
for that.
Way.
Now I cashed out an IRA that my parents had been, this is how conniving I was when I was getting high. I found out I had an IRA and it had quite a bit of money in it. Cashed it out, didn't pay taxes on it, but I did, however, pay like 10 grand towards my restitution.
Yeah.
So I had paid it down drastically. Well, when this guy passed away, it's called joint and several liability. I inherited his restitution.
Bro.
So it went back up. I'm like, I've been paying it down, but I give him $100 a month. Yeah, I give him $100 a month.
I hate our legal system.
It's terrible. But that literally, I mean, and there's people that had it so much worse off than me, obviously. But I just saw a lot of crazy shit when I was locked up, man. Like, I mean, I just didn't want to be a repeat offender, man. And I had a lot of these old heads that talked to me and they were like, dude, you don't want to be me in 30 years.
Yeah. So
and that just resonated with me.
Yeah. What besides that, because there's still a couple questions I have going back, but since we're still here, what was it about this time? Like, why this time? Because how many times have you been in and out of the system? Whether it be a center, whether it be actually locked up, like what changed?
I mean, to put it in retrospect, I mean, I had my son through this. I left that out. So when I was in York, I met a girl that was in recovery. She, it was just a thing of recovery. Everybody's hooking up with everybody, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, I'm just keeping it a buck. Wind up meeting this girl. She got pregnant, told me it was mine. This is right when I got sentenced from the county when he said, hey, we're locking you back up. She moved back to Scranton, Pennsylvania before I even got locked up. Kind of told me she was pregnant, stayed for 4 or 5 weeks, and then boom, left and went back with her mom. Kind of just ran.
Okay.
Now, while all this is going on, when I was in jail, I had reached out to an attorney. Remember, I told you cashed out this IRA. Yep. So I had money while I was locked up. Reached out to an attorney. I paid for a furlough to drive up to Scranton, Pennsylvania when my child was born. Now, unfortunately, my son was born on a Sunday. He was born February 3rd. And the way it works is that even if you have a furlough, it's only Mondays through Fridays.
Oh,
so I had to wait. So I had to wait until Monday at 7 a.m. and the paperwork still hadn't cleared. I had to wait until almost 10 a.m. to leave. It was about a 3-hour drive up to Scranton. Stayed there with my son for probably like 5 or 6 hours. It's my first child. I knew nothing. Coming from work release. All I want to do is hold my son and be with my son, right?
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about signing a birth certificate, asking any of these questions, right? So when I leave, I later find out that my name wasn't on the birth certificate. The name that we agreed on, my son's name was supposed to be Colton Thomas Wareheim. Thomas is the family name. His name, he does not have my middle name or my last name. And that's the only reason I share his full name, because it's not like somebody can look up.
Oh,
Colton
yeah.
Thomas Wareheim. Yeah. Did not give him my middle or last name. So, the reason I share that is like, even my son being born wasn't enough at that point. At this point, I've overdosed 3 times. Okay. And 2 of those times been brought back with Narcan. The third time, I just truly believe it was whoever looking out for me or whatever looking out for me, right? None of that worked. You know, my parents, jails, institutions, deaths, all the stuff you hear in like AA and NA and all that stuff. I've been in the Baltimore rescue mission. I've been in Hagerstown rescue mission. I've been in Frederick rescue mission. I'm talking living in places with bed bugs, living under bridges. None of that stuff worked. I still, to this day, whatever you believe in, you call it divine intervention, your aha moment. I honestly, when I came home, man, what really I feel like laid the foundation, I guess, was just something changed. I can't put a word on it. I can't say what it was. But when I was in there and I had to go to state prison and I saw pedophiles, man, and like they were making these which is sickening in of itself, but like the inmates were literally like starving these dudes, making them drink out of toilets, like just like beating the shit out, like just really cruddy, crazy shit going on. And I was like, I just don't want this to be a part of my life anymore.
Yeah.
And I was a gifted athlete growing up. My entire life, people telling me how much love I have to give. And like, you have so much to give this world. I feel like when you're isolated, even though I was in a penitentiary with, however many thousand guys, when you're isolated from the rest of the world and the rest of the world is moving on without you, seriously, because everybody's lives are going on without you, whether they are thinking about you daily, their lives are going on. You are alone in there. And I just didn't want, feeling alone is one of the worst feelings ever.
Yeah.
I mean, to totally not be able to go to the bathroom when I want, to eat what I want, to go see friends, just go like I'd like
go for a walk,
to touch grass.
Yeah.
Use our time to just go touch some grass. I was only allowed to do that when they told me I could do it. That was a big thing. My son being taken from me. And my mom, after they said they were done, making my dad drive her, because my mom doesn't have a driver's license. She never has.
No way.
66. She's 66, Pop, and she's never had a driver's license.
Why?
She's just, my mom, it's just like where we grew up, man. It was old school. My mom was like, we could walk everywhere. Where my mom worked, she worked in the neighborhood. She could walk. And then when
awesome.
her and my dad got together at 19, my dad was kind of quote unquote her chauffeur. You know what I mean? My dad just drove everywhere. My mom's dad was a truck driver. My dad's dad drove a lot. So it was like my dad just always drove everywhere. And she just had a very big fear. She did have her learner's permit. And I remember my dad trying to teach her to drive, and she just like panicked so much. But yeah, none of that stuff worked, man. I had all of these feelings going inside of me, and I think it was from me finally abstaining, because I was a heroin addict for so long. And if you know anything, at least scientifically, that I've been presented, like say you use heroin for 10 years, right? It can physically take your body 10 years to heal completely in terms of your receptors, like joints, because you did, like me being on methadone, that literally destroys your joints. It eats your joints up from the inside out. My dad, a friend of his, he was on it for 40 years. He had to have two knee replacements because of it.
Jeez.
Yeah, so like just going through all the like culmination of things, and me being so clear-headed for that long of time without any substances, no alcohol or anything, and seeing my mom and my sister when she was pregnant with my nephew coming to visit me, I just knew that I had a purpose. And when I came home, man, I met my now wife. I met Blanca in August of 2017, and I came home Mother's Day. And nice. I truly believe she and I were put in each other's place at that point in time, because she's had a very rough past, nothing with drugs or anything, just with a prior marriage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That we truly believe, like if I read you my vows, man, like I read her in my vows that her and I both believe that we have been part of a soul family.
Nice.
And that her and I have been soulmates for past lives. And it took us a lot longer to find each other this time.
Oh yeah.
And we both had other children prior, and I'm super freaking blessed for Delilah, my daughter. Blanca and Delilah, I think were two of the main things that really saved my life. I think that was like, I guess the easiest term is like the icing on the cake, or it was the reaffirmation in my life that I needed at that time, that like everything's going to be okay. You still got a really long, hard, bumpy road ahead of you, but like that freaking mountain that you just climbed, like we're not going to have to do that again.
Yeah.
Might have to do something like that, but
you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah. And that was the biggest thing. Like I said, being alone was tough. And she pushed me. Now, at this point in time, this is 2017. I had abstained from gaming for a long time. Gaming has always been a part of my life since I've been a little kid. Super Nintendo, Atari were in my house.
Nice.
Or I'm sorry, Nintendo and Atari, then Super Nintendo were in my house. Sega Genesis. So using drugs and all, I abstained completely. COD, I didn't play. The last COD I played during my youth was Modern Warfare 2. So
okay.
Was that like 2009?
Probably around there.
Yeah, right around that time is the last time I really gamed. So when I came home and her and I got together, my wife was really big into League of Legends. She loves Zelda. Like she's got the Triforce tattooed on her. Like nice. She's huge and all that. She kind of pushed me to get back into gaming. And then when I found, like, this is like right around the birth of Facebook gaming. I found all of you guys. I mean, you, Promise, Grandma, Audio, Y8, well now Liam, like so many Picnic, like so many creators that I found that like got my passion back for gaming. And at that point in time, I was going in to start up my vape shop. And the reason I went into a vape shop is because when in between me getting resentenced and all, I was working at a vape shop, and it really helped me abstain from heroin. And the reason was, one of my big triggers, right? When I used heroin, I would pull my filters out of my cigarette and I would use the filter as the cotton to siphon my heroin.
Okay.
So that was a big trigger for me, lighting up cigarettes and like biting. I would bite the cotton on the end of my cigarette. So vaping really helped me get away from cigarettes.
Nice.
Which really, I believe was a really big contributing factor as well in helping getting me clean. And I just was very passionate about it. I've always been a people person, and I was like always the top sales guy at the vape shop, wound up being the manager. And I was actually going to be their wholesale accounts manager because they had started like a juice supply company. And that's when I got sentenced to go upstate. So when I came home, I started vaping again because I was smoking and chewing when I was incarcerated. And I just had a passion for it still. Went back to work for that guy. We were going to franchise one of his stores in Maryland. This is right around the time of COVID, like right before COVID got announced.
Okay.
But he kind of backed out on us and we went for it. I was blessed. My dad was like, stepped up and was like, hey, you know, I'll invest a little bit of money in this. You know, I had everything. I had the location, I had my distributor set up, like everything was ready to rock and roll. So in July of 2018, we had our articles of organization. December of 18, I did my soft opening. January, we did our hard opening. And this December will be 5 years I've been in business.
Nice.
I mean, I made it through COVID. I didn't get any of the PPP loans or any of that stuff. I mean, we made it through on our own. I mean, I'm very transparent and honest. I mean, I'm in debt. I mean, the business is in a lot of debt. It's nothing that we can't recover from.
Yeah.
But at least I know I didn't take all this money from the government, because a lot of people, man, took these PPP loans and it was like, if you didn't pay it back, it's like high interest.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what the APR. So yeah, I've been super blessed, man, with the vape industry, and my wife is my business partner.
Nice.
Dude, I've had so many blessings. And then just when I started content creating right around when I found a lot of you guys on Facebook, and this has been another huge pillar in my life, because even when I'm not creating content, I'm in streams like yours, so many other people's, right? And it's the community, man. And that's why I appreciate you guys so much, because of the communities that you've built. And that's helped me shape and build my community.
Yeah.
With like really welcoming, loving people. And I'm just super blessed. And that's why I'm like, when they announced Kick, I like, oh my God, I ran over here. I did. February. I was over here in February, signed up, ready to go. And I started, I thought, what better of a time than your 4-year anniversary on Facebook to start streaming on Kick?
Yeah.
And I did. March 13th, I came over here, and it has been such a blessing. And I've got to build relationships with people like yourself, people that I've looked up to and kind of emulated a little bit and tried to, in terms of like how I conduct myself on stream or like how I go about creating content. And it's just opened a lot of doors for me over here. And it's not I'm trying to figure out how I can word it. I didn't come over here with the intentions of like, oh, this is going to be my chance, right? To like get in with these creators. Cause that's never been my goal. I don't even want to say my motive, cause I don't have motives. I don't know. I just feel like such a bad word, but I feel like Kick has allowed me to really show my true self to a lot of creators that I've looked up to for a long time. And I've been able to be a part of your guys' communities now, and really come in and hang out and learn still. And you guys are there's been so many really accepting people. I'd say you for one, but like Testy, I'd never even heard of Testy.
Really?
Just being honest, because I was never on Twitch, Pop. I didn't.
That'll
I have
do it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Twitch, but it was just to go show support to people. You know, that's just who I am. I would literally only go on Twitch to show love to people. So like, I felt like that was such a big loss. Like Big E, I didn't know his story. Like Grizz is a homie, man. Like Grizz was telling me like a lot about Big E story because he was like a videographer and like did a lot of stuff. And that's, you know, before he got into his YouTube and all. So like, there's Jared. I had never got a chance to meet Jared, like, and I've got to hang out with Jared and start to build a relationship with him. I'm actually starting to, like Rudy. I mean, I love Rudy to death, dude. Like, and he's not far from me. He's in Pittsburgh, and like Ryan, well, Thundercat, was in stream earlier and was like, dude, like Rudy actually went back and watched your shit on stream, like of my hit, like that kind of stuff, man. Just makes me feel really good having you guys host your communities out to me. Regardless if it's 10 viewers or 100,000 viewers, it just makes me so grateful because people know that I'm building, at least me as a person, I'm genuine, and that, you know, I'm very grateful for every blessing that comes my way. And that if like, hey, I am, because you are doing a big thing by trusting another creator with your community. You know,
of course.
I'm a firm believer in that. And it's like, you know, I'm not just going to host out to anyone. So to start to see these blessings unfold, small and large, just goes to show like not even just me as a content creator, just me as a human being, you know, starting to live to my full potential and just, you know, shed all that baggage that I had because I don't have to carry it anymore. Nobody has to carry any of their old baggage. You know, I feel like we as human beings just drown ourselves in it, and we're so hard on ourselves. And like, at least me, I know me. I am my own worst enemy, my own worst critic. And I could have 100 people telling me, you're doing so well, like keep your chin up, like your growth, you know, and I'm just using content creation. Like my growth has been crazy, at least for me compared to Facebook. And I can still find 100 people could be telling me this, and I can still find 100 things myself that I feel like I'm not doing enough of, or to nitpick at myself, you know, essentially. But I'm growing, I'm learning. I told my wife this the other day, man. I heard it in a UK grime song.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think it was Fredo and he's essentially talking about this dude's like a known drug dealer or whatever, from like South Side Atlanta. I forget who it was. It was either Fredo or Central Shira. And essentially the one line from the song is, "I'm still learning how to love myself."
Yeah.
And my wife luckily is very receptive. And she's like so open. And I just explained to her, I was like, you got to understand that, yes, I'm going to be 36 this year. I said, but those 10 years of me using heavily, and this isn't me trying to use it as a crutch or anything of that sort. It's just me just trying to present the facts to you so that you know why I act so immature sometimes.
Yeah.
Or why I act act the way I do, because for 10 years, I didn't love myself. I was just, the only thing I loved was that escape, because that's all it was when I was using. Because I didn't want to feel the pain. I didn't want to, whatever was going on in my life. So to be able to finally start to love myself, I have to work on that daily.
I was gonna say, what are your tools to do that? What have you tried to implement? What are some things you try and do on a daily, weekly, monthly, whatever basis to combat that not enoughness?
I'm gonna be very honest. I am at least recently, I have been very, very lacking in that. And that's why I am suffering a little bit mentally and emotionally recently.
Yeah.
But when I have, and these are things I'm still trying to learn just because it's still very new to me. My wife and I have talked recently, like, I need to go back to the gym. That is something that I feel like is not only for physical health, but like I remember just even doing light lifting. I don't have to go do crazy squats, deadlift presses or anything like that. But you're releasing those endorphins, dude.
Oh yeah.
That makes you feel good. And that's a big thing that I've neglected. Eating better. I mean, these are all things that I recognize them and I know I need to be better about.
Yeah.
But I've been very lacking and I've seen myself suffer in terms of like mental and emotional health from that. The other thing that I have been at least staying with, I don't do it as much, but it was just a big change for me, is really talking to my wife about this stuff.
Nice, man.
Like, I'm blessed to have a partner to share this with, to share. We both share our burdens with each other. I mean, that's what a partnership's supposed to be about, and there's just days where I might not be able to give even, like, I'll tell her, like, I can't even give. And I heard this recently and it felt so good. I'm like, babe, I'm like not even like 50% there today. And, with recently, me losing my grandmother, for instance, that took a lot out of me, even though we haven't been as close recently. But it was crazy because I woke up to that news Saturday morning to a text from my dad, and I was kind of numb, didn't cry, and then it kind of hit me a little bit, and I woke my wife up, and she's like, "Oh my God," and she's consoling me, and it took me a while. Like, I didn't stream or anything Saturday, and then Sunday I feel like it hit me a little more, and then just trying to process, it's just very hard for me to process death ever since I lost my oldest brother. So December will be 2 years I lost my oldest brother. I didn't even go, my brother was cremated, I have his ashes behind me, but I didn't get a chance. I won't say I didn't get a chance. I just didn't go. I didn't go to my brother's viewing. I just couldn't deal with it properly. It really screwed me up for quite some time when I lost my brother. So trying to process it with my grandmother was, I guess it helped in a sense. And it's just crazy how the universe works, because I made a post Monday morning. I woke up and I was sitting here, and I've struggled recently going live, when I say I'm going to go live, just because mentally the past month or so, I've been kind of out of it. And I'm sitting here at my PC, much like I am right now.
Yeah.
And my wife walks up next to me, and I'm like, it's just crazy, man. I can be such a fucking asshole. She
Can't we
walks
all?
up to, I'm serious. She walks up next to me, and I just kind of look at her, and I'm like, what? No, I really did. And she's like, if you met my wife, she's like 5'2". She's so petite and so small. She has the biggest smile, and she kind of just smiles at me. She's like, I think I have something that might make your day better. And I was like, what? And I like took my headset off and I put it down, and she's like, come here. And she goes in and she shows me a pregnancy test, a positive pregnancy test.
Let's go.
And I'm like, no freaking way, dude. And I just hugged her. I'd like pulled her so tight to me. With everything that's going on with my son, and it's something that we're going to try and visit here soon, potentially at least getting visitation so I can see my son.
Yeah.
It's not fair to him, regardless of how she feels about me or whatever. She's remarried, has another kid now. Like, you owe it to Colton for him to know his dad.
Yeah.
So that's something we're going to revisit. But yeah, that, knowing when she came in Monday, right after losing my grandmother, I found out Saturday morning. I just thought that was my grandmother's, blessing to us, because my grandmother was bedridden. She wasn't able to come to our wedding. We just got married in April.
Nice.
So I felt like it was crazy. I talked to my dad the night prior, and he said, your grandmother was just sitting there with her, because she didn't open her eyes like the last days she was with us.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad said, like, right before she passed, she was sitting there with her eyes closed, like giggling and laughing, and she was talking to my brother, whom she was never like uber close with, my oldest brother Chuck, and my grandfather. And it's just like, to know that she was laughing in her last moments and giggling, like, I am just beyond, and to know that my brother was there, like, that gives me hope, because like, I could see, and the reason I say that, everybody has their view of the afterlife, right? I respect everybody's view of the afterlife, but I truly believe, like I said, my wife, we've met in past lives. I believe that we reincarnate in different forms in different lives, but we have a soul family, right?
Yeah.
And even though my grandmother and my oldest brother, because my two oldest brothers, they're my half brothers, it's not her biological grandsons, they just weren't as close. And to know that, like, my brother Chuck, because my dad would be sitting there, and she called my I forget the nickname she had for my dad when he was a kid, but she wouldn't even call him my dad by his name, Mark or whatever, or like a few months ago where she would maybe call my dad by his youngest brother's name. She would just get the brothers mixed up or something like that. No, she wasn't. She didn't know anyone. Her dementia was so bad.
Wow.
Her cancer was spreading, and for her to, my grandfather Guzzy is what they called him. His name was Vernon, but his nickname was Guzzy. And to hear her, like, it just, and then to get that news Monday morning, I knew, regardless of all the fucked up stuff that goes on in this world on a daily basis, and all the hate and all the just shit, that there is so much beautiful that happens on a daily basis.
Oh yeah.
That we get, like, we don't get to see, man, because anything that's ever shown is just the negative anymore, and so to have something that beautiful happen to me after so much, like, pain, just gives me hope for this world, and just the people, it was just a beautiful thing. I get to be a dad again, not to just my kitties.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I love my cats to death, man. I'm such a big animal person. But it's just been a blessing, man. I've so many things have came to fruition. Being able to do this with you today, because I think I've only ever done anything like podcast. I mean, I've done a few like small podcast things here and there, but never really got to fully like tell my story.
Yeah.
Aside from like an AA room.
Yeah.
You know, it's seriously, I've never really, I mean, I've shared it, bits and pieces, couple, I might surmise a couple things that, really condense it up, hey, yeah, I was a drug addict for 10 years, boom, 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 and I'm clean now. But never really got to share my story or had someone that was really interested, to really know about me and what got me where I am today.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe, I mean, I know, like I said, from my mom and all, I have a big heart and I can, I give you the shirt off my back. I don't care who it is. I don't. If I see somebody struggling, usually I try to help. But to have gone through all of that, I just tell people, man, I'm like, that is one thing I would never wish on my worst enemy. Seriously.
Yeah.
I would never wish a substance abuse problem on anyone because, I feel like, I hate talking about it, but I feel like it's almost up there with like suicide. Because when it happens, because I almost committed suicide with my addiction, right? The ripple effect of your addiction or your substance abuse is so much, I feel, closely related to suicide. I know it's a very sensitive subject. I hate to use that correlation, but sometimes I try to use it because it's so severe. That people, and I didn't realize with my drug addiction, like for instance, when I got incarcerated or I got locked up, my picture was all over the news here in PA with my first and last name. I didn't realize like I have family in Pennsylvania. I have family in Maryland that have the same last name. Like, you don't think of, well, that does look bad on them, not saying that image is everything, but when you have my family's very well known and just very good, wholesome people.
Yeah.
And I was like the black sheep, you're like, it's kind of like them things. You're like, holy heck, I didn't. So it was like the ripple effect. And I feel like that kind of goes back as I got clean and having my partner and all over the past couple years and building my business and going through all the struggles of that and the struggles of wanting to give up creating content. Like I said, there was just something, whatever you believe in, that has just fueled me and has kept me present on this planet. And I truly believe, I still don't know what it is that I'm set to do here on this earth. I mean, I feel like, what I'm doing now, is a big part of it, creating content.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And trying to like help people or give people a safe space to, whether it's my community or if I'm not live, people know that I am, aligning myself with people that are going to create a safe space as well.
Yeah.
I just can't believe how many blessings I have had and how good things have gotten. Even with all the darkness going on right now, like I say, I just can't keep stressing that enough. I feel like I'm like a broken record right now, but it's really been a blessing.
What do you feel about, because you had mentioned, and there's still some stuff I want to go back on, but what have you felt about Kick and your streaming and creating content here? What has been different? Because it made it seem as though while you were creating content and you were achieving success to your own standards, if you will, it seems as though since switching to Kick, more opportunities, there's been more connections formed. What is there anything that you can attribute that to or pinpoint as to that increased success, that increased community building?
To be honest, it was a few things. I will be very honest. When I started creating content on Facebook, I kind of just aligned myself with whoever would accept me at that point in time. I was more of a loner at that point in time. I learned not so quickly that those people that I aligned myself with did not have my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
Even though I had their best interest at heart. And that I kept that I mean, I built a lot of good relationships, and it's crazy to see because there's only a few of them that have merged over here to Kick that I still consider very close friends. And that was because it took me almost 4 years to realize that those people that I aligned myself with were not good people.
Yeah.
Not all of them. And I started to hear more like people talking that like you need to have people in your corner, yes, that are going to help you grow and that you guys can grow together.
Yeah.
You know, you need to find like-minded people. And that was the thing. I was like, people weren't trying to grow the same as me. You know, they were either lazy or lackluster with it, whereas I was like full-fledged wanting to go forward. And I felt like that pulled me back a little bit. But when I came over here to Kick, I made a promise to myself that yes, I would still, hey, I'll follow you, you know, friends from Facebook and all, but I'm not going to support you and try to grow with you like I was on Facebook because it did nothing.
Yeah. Did you have those conversations? For those?
I did with a few people. I did, and some people I just cut off completely, and some of it were other circumstances. I mean, people just trying to cause drama. That was a big thing that I'm not a drama person, never been involved in drama, but it just always seemed like these people that I aligned myself with were always involved in drama.
Yeah.
I mean, every day it was, you know, whether they were beefing with another streamer or something that was totally not involved with them and they had to make a YouTube video about it, or they're trying to farm views. They're just people that were just trying to farm. And I'm like, dude, that's not the type of content I want to create. That's not the type of community that I want to have.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a community full of trolls. Like, I want a community. And that's what started to change, really, when I came over here. I feel like my, I mean, I've always had good morals, ethics, and all, but I feel like my streamer etiquette and the people I chose to surround myself with, just changed completely. I did start to find some other creators that were size-wise, I'll say, were very similar to me. That were, because when I came over here, or before I came over here, short form and all that, very much non-existent.
Yeah.
And that was all on me. That was all growth that I could have had that I didn't do. So when I came over here, I was like, all right, Chad, people are giving you the sauce, like the ingredients to the sauce, bro. Like, too many people are giving the ingredients. Like, not saying you got to make the recipe the same, but take them base ingredients, throw a couple of your own in and run with it. And it's done very well for me. Like, I have always been a big person in terms of like, I can say I'm very generous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't go into people's streams and gift in hopes that they're going to be like, oh, fuck, let's go support him or send their community over. No, I do it because people are deserving of it, and I feel good when I gift to people.
Yeah.
This is not, and that's just a selfish thing for me, I guess. I like to feel good, and me giving to people and making their day a little better, or maybe taking some financial strain off of them, or maybe it's incentivizing other people in the community that typically might not gift to gift to this person.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they see the genuineness, and I'm just using you because we're here, or other people that I gift to that are uber genuine, versus, I learned very quickly, people that wouldn't even speak to me in their stream unless I gifted.
Really?
You know? Yeah. I mean, dude, people that started getting very, very big. I'm talking guys on Facebook that I remember, pup, that were, I went in watching them when they had like 20, 30 CCV, right? And then they get partnered, and, you know, I'm talking like a year later, maybe 18 months later, and they've got 150,000 followers, and they're sitting at like 500 CCV regularly, coming in like I do with you. Hey, what's up, pup? How we doing today? Boom, boom, boom. I mean, I get it, to I'm a content creator. If we're locked in, it might take a minute or two, but we're gonna go over and we're gonna acknowledge you, you know. And if we miss it, it's not intentional. But I'm talking, you know what I mean, like multiple comments, just looking over it, and then boom, I send 1,000 stars. Hey, brother, what's up? Oh, what's up, Chad? How we doing? You know, and I'm like, just the fakeness.
Yeah.
So when I came over here, I had so many different mindsets. I told myself, you're very much capable. I'm a technical idiot.
Nice.
I'm serious. I need help all the time when it comes to XLR, when it comes to scenes and overlays and stuff like that, because aside from me taking C++ in high school in 2004, the extent of my computer knowledge is sending and receiving emails and Facebook.
Yep.
Literally, I mean, that was it. And some Instagram. I've never really had to do anything. So when I came over, I was like, I'm going to try and learn. Or if people are willing, even if I have to pay for it, like, for instance, art is war.
Yeah.
Jesse's an amazing human being. I actually have his stream PC that I bought through Stints because he's partnered with Stints. And I paid, even though I had an hour consult, I paid 15 more bucks and got another 30 minutes of his time because I wanted to pick his brain and I wanted to learn, but I didn't want it for free.
Yeah.
If people are willing to give you the knowledge or the info, I'm always for that, especially if they're willing to give it to you for free, because that's very hard to get in this world nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then if I do have to pay for somebody's time, I'm always willing to do it because, again, I want to learn and try and grow and be self-sufficient. And it's just, it's very hard to find those genuine creators that are more, because I like using more and less established term versus
that's
big
fair.
and small creators.
Yeah.
I feel like there are, and you got to look at it from both sides as well. I'm sure there are tons of people that are looking for an angle, right? They're not genuine about reaching out for help or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I can probably say that that's turned some other large or more established creators off from helping other people, or maybe closing off their circle per se to any newcomers because they've been burnt or whatever before. But I feel like there are still a bunch of creators that, even though that may have happened to them, are still genuine and still, willing to try and help, as long as they see you're, genuine and willing to put in the work. And you're not trying to just use, which is, in this scene, there are very few and far between. I just was like, that's the type of people that I don't want in my life anymore. I don't need them. I don't care how many followers you have. I don't care about your community at that point. I just didn't want that kind of energy in my life. And I think that a lot of that stemmed from my drug use and being involved with those same kind of people, man. I get the same energy I'm just using his as an example since we put his name out there. I get the same energy from him that I did with a lot of these like scumbaggy, like junkies. And I say junkie because I was a junkie that I used to get high with.
Yeah.
Like, friend to your face because you guys are all getting high together, and as soon as they're out, you're a piece of shit, you whatever, kind of shit. Just talk the most dirt on you they can. And I've just chose to eliminate that from my life, man. And things, even though, like, you were asking me what things do I try to practice daily, even though I haven't been very good with that, I feel like just still standing my ground and keeping these negative people out of my life and trying to do the baby steps daily, whether it's getting up and taking 5 minutes, even minimum, which I know I should take more, to just meditate to myself. Yeah. Which I feel like is a huge thing for me. I feel like my day is so much better. And it's like, I think in doing that, and starting to kind of like with that love myself some more, it's been easier to, sometimes I don't even feel like I owe people an explanation, like you're saying. Have you let some of these people know? Some of them, I was like, hey, I'm done. Some of them, I got peace from it, and I didn't even, it feels good to just be able to close that door. So
what, you set it up perfectly for me. Because this was one I wanted to ask, what were your friendships like before you had your injury and got started? Were you already associating with people that necessarily didn't have your best interest, weren't the best influences? Did you have people that tried
100%.
that tried to get you on the right track? And I know it's so there was no one you had to cut out of your life necessarily because they were trying to help you improve. They were trying to get you out of that scene.
Everybody, and this is crazy. So put this in perspective. In high school, my sophomore and junior year, in high school, I was hanging out with dudes that were in their early 20s.
Okay.
So that goes to show the mindset of the people that I was running with.
Yeah.
For them to accept like a 14, 15-year-old into their circle just goes to show I look back at it now and I'm sneaking out of my front window in my living room to go like 3 blocks away so I can pound 40s of Bud Ice in a basement with a bunch of 20-something-year-old dudes. You know what I mean? Like those 20-something-year-old dudes, weren't in their mind. They're like, oh, we're not calling him a hard. He's in here. If he's going to be drinking, at least he's drinking with us. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I look at it now as like, dude, you should have been telling me, no, motherfucker, you're not allowed to come in here with us. You need to be at home, dude. You need, like, because again, like these are guys that I grew up with that were friends with my older brothers that knew my potential, man. Like when I say potential, I don't fucking any smoke over here. I could have played professional sports. Yeah. My grandfather had a contract with the Baltimore Orioles to pitch.
Oh, shit.
Threw his arm out in the Army. I mean, like, I was just a very gifted athlete. I was a swimmer. My sister swam in the Junior Olympics as a swimmer, and She was only 5'1". If my sister would have had my height, she'd have been an Olympic swimmer. I mean, trained where Michael Phelps trained at UMBC and in, swimmer. I was a martial artist. I did jujitsu. It was a mesh of jujitsu, kempo, aikido, and then towards the end they really started implementing a lot of grappling and all because we trained in gis.
Nice.
So like that was a big, and that's something that I'm really trying to get back into. When you're asking, there's a spot in Baltimore. It's called Ground Control. They're a nationally accredited jujitsu gym.
Okay.
That is something I feel is going to be, I really need to get back into because of the discipline. And to just get, because I never got frustrated or angry when I was like training, on the mats and all.
Yeah.
Like if I couldn't get like a hold or a lock or something, like, again, it was kind of like me telling you like how I pay people sometimes, like, hey, if I could take a couple minutes of your time, like, set up. It was like that. Like I'd pull my instructor off like, hey, can I have you for 10 or 15 minutes after class? Because I can't get this. Like, and that just drove me crazy. I'm one of them, like almost like a perfectionist, and it could be my downfall sometimes. But yeah, that was a big thing. Like I had really good people in my life. And then when I got into high school, because like my karate instructor was amazing, my swimming instructors were amazing. My grandfather, before he passed, because he passed in 2005, he didn't get to see me graduate, but I mean, he used to throw with me in the yard. I mean, my grandfather in his 60s, I throw the ball, try to throw it a little hard at him, and he'd wick it right back at me, dude. And I mean, nice. Hurt my hand, dude. Like, so, like, I did have those good people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really recall when it happened that I just kind of chose that other path. I want to say it was like right around freshman year of high school. I really feel like, because I went to a high school with no other kids from kindergarten to 8th grade, I had the same 25 kids. We might have had like a kid drop out. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Might have had a kid drop out, new kid or two come in, but pretty much the same kids from K to 8. When I went to high school, no one else went to Mount St. Joe. They all either went to Curley, Calvert Hall, or Loyola Blakefield. And a couple of them went to like really uppity schools like Friends or McDonough, whatever. These are schools I'm talking to like $50,000 a year for high school.
That's too much.
So like, yeah, I mean, McDonough, you can literally board there in high school. It's insane. Yeah, they've got like horse training there. They've got literally stables. Like, yeah, this is like buku money school. But like I was the only kid that went to St. Joe. And to put it in perspective, our tuition there at that point in time, I think was like $7,000 a year.
Jeez.
Which is still expensive, but you know, and I was the only kid. So it was like I felt very much like a loner at that point. Even going into high school, you know. I mean, I tried out for sports. I made sports teams and all, but I just never really connected with people like that because, to put it even more in perspective, I went to St. Joe. Most of the kids were from a certain area, which was more I'll use a term that I grew up with. We used to call them yuppies. I don't know if you know that term.
Maybe say more words.
I'm a city boy. Yuppies were like the county kids, you know. Growing up, I wore baggy jeans, Air Force Ones, tall tees, that kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
But yuppies to me were the kids in the county that were wearing like Abercrombie at that time.
More preppy.
You know?
Okay, I think we use prep.
Yes, yeah, preppy. Yeah, we just called them yuppies.
Okay.
But when I went to St. Joe, and this is just, I have to get in it. I started to become more of a loner because all of the other white kids, man, didn't dress like me, didn't listen to the same music as me, didn't, you know, act like me. I was already smoking weed. Like, these kids were very well-to-do parents, you know, their or their dad, their brother, their grandfather all went to this school, you know, and their families all know each other because their legacies at this school. Whereas me, I'm this, you know, hood rat white boy coming to the school, and on dress down days, they're all wearing freaking Sperry's and, you know, chino shorts.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing Rockaware jean shorts with white Air Force Ones and a baggy polo tee, you know? This is how bad of influences I had growing up. I got my first tattoo my sophomore year of high school, pup. I still have it on my calf muscle. It's the worst ink I've ever had in my life.
I'm not surprised.
But like, I'm like, dude, you know, and that's another thing that I've never, you know, I feel like that's been a Zen thing for me. And I know because you have ink.
Oh, yeah.
Getting older and starting to get tattooed, that's been another big outlet for me.
Really? In what way?
Yeah. Like I said, I went to Catholic schools and all, so I was raised, we'll say, Roman Catholic.
Okay.
And I really, that didn't sit well with me, a lot of the teachings and practices and like how, you know, we'll say like tithing and just so much stuff. And what really was the icing on the cake, I was in Germany in 2005 or 6, right, with my parents. And I went to go into this cathedral, and it was very Gothic, you know, and I was really interested in architecture and all at this time. And I go into this church, and they tell me it's going to cost me €5 to get in. And I said, €5? I said, well, I'm Catholic. I said, what if I want to go do confession?
That'll be 10.
They're like, no, you still got to pay to get into there. That right there was like, as a more of an adult, where I learned, like, I fucking hate, I'm making air quotes, religion. You know,
organized.
Religion.
Yeah.
Yes. Or I hate it. I'm like, I that's one of the only things I say about that. That's I hate ridiculous. That in politics. And from that point forward, I was like, and I started to, now mind you, I went to summer camp as a kid, which it was a Native American based camp. It was called Camp Putak. So got really one with like nature and how the Native Americans really viewed Mother Earth and so on and so forth. I had friends that practiced Buddhism and Hinduism. And I really started to expand my knowledge and what I wanted to learn and what I really wanted to, my beliefs to center around.
Yeah.
And I could never really put my thumb on one really belief system. And it was crazy because I met my tattoo artist at this point in time, and he really opened me up to symbolism, you know, or I don't know if symbolism is the right word, but yeah, like what different things in terms of tattoos meant and like what they carried. Cause I have mandalas tattooed on me.
Nice.
I have lotuses, and I have like, I really found out because I've always loved owls and I didn't know why I loved owls so much. It was just always an animal that really captured me. And he explained to me, and that's why I have this owl on my forum. And then I really started to think like, and in different cultures, they mean different things, obviously. But from what I gather, what I believe in with owls is owls are not a flock animal or a bird, right? You don't ever see them flying in flocks like you would, goose or whatever. They're nocturnal. I've always been a nocturnal person. You look at an owl, how they can swivel their head the way that they do. I think that's a part of me from being incarcerated. I always have my head like when I go into a restaurant. So if you ever meet me and we go out to eat and I'm like, I don't want to sit here. Can I sit here?
Oh, I'm the exact. I always have to face the door.
I have to see everybody, and that's a big part of being incarcerated. And it's like I feel like an owl with their head on the swivel. And then like what I found out what the mandala meant, and then I really started to get into sacred geometry at that point and really learn what these geometric patterns are. And then you start learning about frequencies, and then it's kind of funny because you go into these Catholic churches, right? And the stained glass patterns that you see are actually sacred geometry. And when they play music in there, those frequencies and all, so it's like really makes you think like, well, Catholicism isn't what they really say they are, because they've taken so much from, other belief systems and stuff like that. So, and so many things, like I feel like another reason why tattoos have been such a big part of me, yes, to tell my story. I've been through so much, I have Against All Odds tattooed on me. Being a drug addict, I feel like a lot of people think, I didn't know that was a group, a band.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
I didn't either. Yeah. So people told me that was a band. And I said, no, Against All Odds for me was, being a drug addict. Usually you don't come back from that.
Yeah.
My brother's, proof of that. You don't usually live through that. You either end up prison for the rest of your life. You're either going to be institutionalized because a lot of people, brain dead, whatever, or you're dead.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was just like getting my tattoos. Like I say, my tattoo artist is so awesome. He really started to show me a lot of things because he was into those things himself.
Yeah.
Two totally different backgrounds, but it was so crazy. And my tattoo artist has the coolest fucking name ever. His name is Charlie Murphy.
Nice.
Nice. But like such a down to earth person, man. And it was crazy. And the reason I go on that is because when my life started to change and I started to, like I said, weed these people out of my life, and I really just started to constantly try to, even though it's so freaking hard.
Oh yeah.
Most days, to put out that good energy, man, and get up and have that smile on your face. But when I just noticed that, to try to put that, like the people that were being put in my life, or at that point in time, I'm like, I needed this. And Charlie was one of those people that was put in my life at a really good point, because he was put in my life in 2015.
So a little before you got out.
Yeah. So nice. I was out, like I'd gotten some work from him, and then I got sentenced, from my county. I got sentenced on that CIP to go upstate. And when I came home from upstate, he was up in Portland, Maine, and he was moving back down here. So like, not only that, like I've been following you since Facebook, and been more active over here on Kick. But again, that's just another thing, like continuing to put out the good energy and being selfless and just being grateful every day. Sometimes we do need to be selfish.
Oh yeah.
But not being, selfish in the wrong ways, right?
Self-caring.
I feel like not being, yes, there we go. I think it's a better word. Self-caring and not being selfish daily, and being grateful, and all of these things, which are very hard to do. I get it. It's so much easier said than done. Have really aligned me with the people that I need in my life, and that they might need me in their life, in their life at that point in time. So it's been a true journey. I know my journey is nowhere near complete, but I feel like the path that Kick has given myself and so many other people. Whether it's starting over completely, you were a huge partner on another platform, or somebody like myself that invested tons of hours and multiple years. And this, may be your chance to start, not even say like get big or blow up, but to really start to build those relationships that you weren't able to build before. Cause I think that's the biggest thing for me, man, is having the opportunity now to build these relationships with people like yourself. And like I said, I just can only use, cause I've had a really core group of people recently that I will say, I guess the best way, have taken to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And know that I'm sincere and genuine. And I just use Testy, for instance. I mean, I've been talking to him back and forth, right, for probably over a month in DMs.
Nice.
Not once have I brought anything up, Pups, about trying to do a co-stream or anything about that.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't my intentions or anything like that. It was just, a kind of like a support thing. Plus, he's partnered on Stake. I had a couple questions that I asked him, and he said, "Hey, man, just shoot me a DM."
Nice.
But to see those things kind of coming to fruition, or people starting to maybe open themselves up to me a little bit, I guess that's, man, what I wasn't getting, or maybe not what I wasn't getting, but maybe what I was missing before, because my head and my heart weren't in the right place. Maybe when I was on Facebook, I really can't. But I'm just super stoked for what has, what is yet to come. Not just for me, for you, for so many people here on Kick, man. Like,
yeah, I'm so excited, dude. Excited.
These $100,000 contracts. Like, I don't know if you watched the Eddie. They did an interview with Eddie. I think it was Jake Lucky interviewed him.
Yep.
Like, and Eddie is just, you can tell, like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, Eddie hasn't followed me or anything, but he's liked a couple of my tweets.
Nice. So
for him to recognize, it's kind of like the real recognize real kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
You can just tell with him, man, that this isn't a fucking propaganda thing for him, or he's not just spewing some script and they're trying to mull over all this shit that they don't want you to see. Like, nah, they're literally at face value with all of us right now. And I think the problem with that is because, again, I've never streamed on Twitch. I can only go off of what I see, but I can go off of how I was treated at Facebook. I feel like people are so used to having dirt thrown in our face. And that was even for you guys as partners, because I heard audio talking about it last night. Like, if you had an issue with Facebook had to go to, or Facebook Gaming had to answer to Facebook, and then Facebook had to answer to Meta, and it was just like a shit show to get an answer and all. And I'm like, dude, we can literally go on to the email support@kick.com and I can have a fucking response in under 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's not computer generated.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally, I mean, sometimes I'll get a little typo in there.
Yep.
I'm like, that right there is, I feel like, so refreshing, man. Is the best word I can, because it makes you feel wanted. And come on, let's not lie, we all want to feel wanted. You know?
Yeah. Seen, heard, loved. That's it.
Yes. But yeah,
that's yeah.
Sorry, I'm so long-winded. When you ask me questions, I always go on these tangents.
Honestly, that's what I love. It's way easier than it was tough, and then I'm just like, can you say more fucking words, please? That would help. Luckily, we've had no situation where that's really happened. So no, So there's two parts, as you've mentioned, adding more quality people around you. What was your process or mindset fresh out? You're not wanting to go back. You're wanting to be clean. How do you change your way of thinking? How do you change your way of being? How do you change how you deal with life so that when you do get out, you maintain it? Because I know for me, one of the things that gets me back to smoking weed is just the difficulty of life sometimes. It's just, there's certain times where I'm good. I would like to escape, please. I don't want to just go to bed at 2 p.m. and wake up the next day. I would like to be somewhat present, but also not feel all of this. And so experiencing the loss of your brother, experiencing the loss of your grandma, I guess there's two parts. A, what were you doing when you first got out to get you to a place to be able to deal with these things more? And then what do you currently do, if those things are any different, to maintain that clarity, to maintain that sobriety? Because that's there's so many difficult things in life that could potentially put you back to square one. And so committing to that betterness, how does one do that? Asking for a friend.
No, I'm with you 100%. So I'll be very honest. I still fall short. Now in terms of, I can just say this. I don't know what it is, whether it's Blanca, whether it's Delilah, whether it's a freaking guardian angel. I don't know if when I overdosed, if it changed a DNA marker or something in me.
Yeah.
At least for that, I just don't know why. I will never, you could literally I swear on my unborn child that's coming. You could throw me in a room with 10 kilos of raw, uncut heroin, and I would not fucking get the urge. I think it was just so much pain from that I will never. It was just enough pain for me. Everybody's pain is different. Everybody's bottom is different. Like me, I'm talking being homeless, being in, so much debt. Your mother and your father, who were your biggest fans your entire life, not even wanting you in their home. Like, it was just a culmination of so many things. I feel like was really why I'll never go back to that.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, just because I might not ever pick up heroin or everything doesn't mean I couldn't still go back to living that lifestyle, that mindset of just being a scumbag piece of fucking shit, right? Again, I think it falls back to the amount of pain that I had to endure for 10 years. Having my son taken away from me was a huge factor in that I just never really vocalized, but really just ripped a huge part of my heart.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to do whatever I can to try to not fill that void, but to get that piece of my heart back. And I knew it was going to be a long road. Now, daily, there are still things that I fall short on in terms of, like, to touch on with you with cannabis.
Yeah.
I can, at least in my experience. Now, I was diagnosed. I've never been diagnosed with anything in terms of like depression or anything or bipolarness, but I need to see a doctor because I do believe I have something of that sort. Now, I have been clinically diagnosed ADHD, and I had, very, very severe ADHD. I was started on, oh man, what was the real bad one before Adderall came out?
Ritalin?
Oh my God.
Same thing?
Ritalin. Yeah, I was on Ritalin, and it made me like a zombie, right?
Yep.
And then when they put me on Dexedrine, though, it was like a different effect on me, though.
Yeah.
It was like what people take it for to stay up and all. I was like speed to me. So I feel like that started me off very early with the addictive personality. I've always been an addictive person. I can admit that wholeheartedly. I mean, whether it was sports or soda, or I'll be very honest now, my wife, she'll just tell you, sex. So many things that just I've substituted. Well, I was very blessed. I tried AA, man. NA just wasn't for me, even though narcotics was my choice.
Yeah.
I just felt more at home at AA.
Interesting.
I did, at least where I am. And I know it's different for every demographic, because there are some people I know in different areas that'll be like, hey man, I'm an alcoholic and I don't even want to go into AA meetings. I feel more at home in an NA meeting. Just where I was at, here in York, I'm talking, you'd be in there sharing some real ass shit, and then I'm walking out from the meeting and they're out there copping dope and selling dope to each other. You know what I mean?
What?
Yeah, brother. Yeah, that's how like some of these meetings were going down, and I just was like, and I never got that at AA. And the AA scene here in York was younger in a sense that I was still in my 20s, at this point in time, like late 20s. And most of the people were in their late 20s, early 30s. And then we had some people that were in their like late 40s, early 50s that were kind of like, the senior members in AA here. But I will say this. through all of that, I was, before I got sentenced and all, I tried Suboxone for long periods of time. I got on the methadone program, right? Every time I was on those substances, I was still just didn't feel complete. And it was hard for me to cope and deal with things. And when I got clean and I came home and I was on state parole, I was just daily, even though I told you when I came home, I felt so good. Mother's Day, something was just still, I felt like missing inside of me. And there were times where I would get these urges, not to use heroin, but like just to go drink or just to say, fuck it. And I'm just going to move to another state or whatever. And I just chose, I don't know what it was. I was working at the vape shop and I was chilling with the one kid after day. And he's like, hey man, you ever dabbed?
Oh, nice.
I'm like, what the fuck is a dab, dude? And he introduced me to concentrates. And I tell you what, I took that first dab, and after I coughed up my lungs for like a minute straight, it was like the sense of relief that I got from heroin, but not the numbness.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't numb anymore, but I felt okay. And I was using without permission, and I wind up just growing some balls. And I went to my PO and was like, look, man, if you piss test me, I'm going to test dirty for pot. And this is why. And I was just straight up with him. I said, this is the only thing really that helps me feel balanced.
Yeah.
And he was like, go get your medical card. And I learned really quickly, though, too, that you can over medicate with cannabis.
Oh, yeah.
You can hurt yourself by using, strains that are higher in different terpenes and stuff. So that, for me, I had to do a lot of research, and I've stuck with now, and this is what, so I use cannabis daily.
Nice.
But I have found a few strains that it's taken me. I've been a patient for 5 years on the medical marijuana here in PA. Yep. Since I can, well, no, it'll be 6 years in November, because 2017 I got on. So, I found some strains that just work very well with me. If I do certain strains that are higher in like pinene or what's the other one? It might be linalool or limonene. One of them is really high in like sativa strains.
Okay.
If I do anything that's really high in sativa strains, it or higher with these terpenes, and which is more found in sativa strains, it can give me panic attacks.
Yep.
And yeah, dude, and if anybody's experienced panic attacks, which I had never really experienced until I got it. I mean, I'm talking like, feel like I'm crawling out of my skin.
Yep.
Palms sweaty. I feel like Eminem song, knees shaking, like feel like sick to your stomach, like you're gonna vomit. Like, I'm talking times where I would get these panic attacks, like what the hell's going on with me? And there was one time, I still have the clip saved, where I went completely pale white. My eyes underneath were like black, and I started sweating really bad. I felt super nauseous, and it was all directly related to some of these terpenes. So to go with that, where I'm going with that is, for me, I'm hoping one day I can possibly, I don't think I'll ever abstain completely from cannabis, but I am hoping that I can get to a day where I can maybe just very, very, very mildly medicate.
Yeah.
And be okay and focus more on meditation, or, because I've never tried yoga. I've had so many people tell me to try different things for those endorphins, for those feel good chemicals that, as an addict, I mean, because my dopamine levels, I don't think my dopamine levels are still where they should be because of how heavily I used for how long I used. And that's a big thing too. I feel like, yes, with cannabis, and that's where I was going with like over medicating, we have an endocannabinoid system.
Yep.
But I noticed too, man, I started feeling very depressed when I was over medicating with cannabis. And it was either like polar opposites. I'd either feel super depressed or I'd be on this fucking high, and then it was just weird though. I'd get high and then crash.
Yeah.
It was just very, very weird. So I tried cutting cannabis out. I vape, which is not good at all. Nicotine is so bad for you in the amounts, at least that I do.
That's fair.
But I feel like those two, if I had to give up one or the other, I would give up vaping and continue with the cannabis, just because I feel like it has so much. There's really no medicinal effects from vaping, honestly.
Yeah.
aside from helping you, I mean, it's safer than combustible cigarettes. That's about it.
Yeah.
Whereas cannabis has so many medical benefits, man. It's just, I feel like because it's still, I mean, it's not new, but like medicinally and all, it's, the research is starting to come out now. I feel like if more places were willing to educate people and help people with the right dosings and right strains of cannabis, I feel like it could help so much more people. And that's not the case for everybody, because I know some people that were heroin addict like myself, if they're using cannabis, that's going to trip them up and send them right back to running the races. You know, I get that. And this, and I'm sure everybody knows, not everything that works for one person is going to work for the next.
Oh no.
But, honestly, just yes, cannabis. And I'm lucky because my wife, man, like I said, she's very cool and like laid back, but because we've been together so long now, she will fucking give it back to me now. Times where I might have got snippy with her and maybe like barked a little bit at her, she gives it back to me now.
Nice.
And we need that sometimes, and I feel not feel bad, but I feel like some people, I just wish that for some people that they find their partner, because I feel like we are all destined. We all have a partner here somewhere in this world.
Yeah.
I really do. Again, we are not supposed to be alone, even though I feel like we're really, like I talked earlier, like I just felt really alone in jail and all. We're social creatures, man. Like we are meant to socialize. Like look how bad COVID was for a lot of people, for mental health and all. People that had never experienced any type of mental health problems, when they got cut off from the world like that, look at how many issues people started having. And that's where I feel like people need to be more open, man. Like,
yeah,
if you don't share your freaking stories, man, like, or what you've been through, one, how are you helping yourself? And two, you don't know how many people's lives you might save.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel the transparency comes from me. And I feel like that's been a big balancing thing for me, because I just, the gift, the gab, for me, I feel like even though I spew so much stuff out and I'm very, very wordy and talkative, I feel like the reason is to help people.
Yeah.
And for people to be able to relate to me and to know that they're not alone. And that's just therapy in and of itself for me, honestly. And like you're asking, like daily, I feel like going live is a big thing for me too. But and just from talking to you in chat and seeing your tweets, I know how it is, Pup, sometimes where you don't even want to get up and go live.
Oh yeah. You could stop at get up. Sometimes.
In fact, yes. No, very much. I mean, I literally woke up today only because the kitten was bothering me. And I came in, I knew we had our thing, and I was in here. I saw your tweet that you were done early, and, we chatted, and I was like, choo-choo. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go live. I'm just going to hang out and do some spins. And I sat here with you. I was live. I went live. I didn't do anything. I didn't spin one slot. I just sat here and watched you. And it took everything it had for me to go live there.
Yeah.
Instead of just waiting until, you and I were supposed to link up for this. So it's very hard sometimes to just, like you said, even wake up. I'm glad you said that, because I mean, there's so many other, external things outside of streaming that are going on in our lives, whether again, it's partners, deaths in the family, financial, strain, whatever it may be. That sometimes it's like, I remember you said this recently, like getting up and even putting that smile on your face to come in the stream and just try to be happy or portray that we're happy, you know. But I think a big part of it, like you said, yes, we need to do self-care, but sometimes I'm like, all right, Chad, you can't be selfish today.
Yeah.
Even though today's not the best day, I need to go live because somebody needs our stream.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's one person or all 50 or all 150, however many people are in your stream that day, we really don't know how many people in our communities need us that day. So, you know, and that's something we signed up for, you know, I feel like,
oh yeah,
as a content creator. So
yeah.
and I don't think our community members know how much we need them
Yeah.
as much as they need us sometimes, you know, that it is a two-way street. Like, and I'm totally excluding financial support from community members.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
that community member coming in to ask you how your day is, or the best thing for me is when they were like, when they come in and say, you're live. I'm so glad you're live. Like,
Yeah.
to think back as a little kid, I mean, I'm sure some of us dreamed of, like, I always thought I'd be an actor, man. I mean, I'm kind of living vicariously through you. But like, to see, you know what I'm saying? And you know what it means? It kind of gives you like a starstruckness kind of thing when people are like, hey, whoever thought I was going to be live with a camera on me and people were going to come in and watch me.
Yeah.
Whatever we may be doing, you know? And it's so like, it's just, I'm just so glad that we were afforded this opportunity, and whoever the first person to actually think like, hey, let's do a live stream, you know, live
right.
stream. I am just forever grateful for that. And for opportunities like this to, you know, really let more people that maybe have never met me or heard anything about me to hear my story and maybe give them some hope or push them to do something that they've been like hesitant or reluctant to try, you know?
Yeah.
So,
dude, this literally was why the second I rated you and you were saying snippets of what you ended up getting to expand on, I was like, dude, I want to know. I want to hear this. I want to know all that, because it's one of those, like, I don't want to say like I love hearing those stories, because of course you had to go through so much in order to be able to share it. But yeah, I'm very similar. There's certain times where I'm like, dude, I am saying so much. I feel so many people know so much about me. John, you need to have some privacy with some shit. But then I realized that no, I enjoy it. It's not, not only does it selfishly help me to be able to get these things out, but the amount of times where you're thinking to yourself that no one will understand this. No one knows what this was like. No one knows what I'm feeling. And then you share some strange, obscure detail and someone's like, oh my God, I've been feeling that exact same way. Or I was that way a month ago, yesterday, whatever the hell it might be. And that is what is worth it for me. Like that's all just the ability to help someone else to maybe feel not as alone for a split second, for however long I might be live or whatever. Because going on the aloneness thing, I want to say, I could be underestimating, but I want to say that it's starting to become very apparent, and studies are showing that loneliness is an epidemic and literally has the same effect as smoking cigarettes, 20 cigarettes a day. Like your chronic loneliness is literally killing you. Because exactly what you were saying, we are designed to be social creatures. Even the idea of just you and your wife taking care of this one kid, that was not what happened a few hundred years ago. It was everyone taking care of everyone's family. And when you communal systems, communal rearing, I want to say is what it's called. It's like, so over the last 100 years, we have grown more isolated and more lonely, which is why we're fucking sadder than ever. So so the ability to, like, that's what ends up being the tough thing for stream with me sometimes is, yes, having people that are here, but there are certain times where it is tough that it is me talking to myself aloud in this room. And then I take my headphones off and I'm just fucking alone again. Like, no matter how much you feel close or you feel that kinship and camaraderie, it's like, oh, okay, back to my lonely existence. And so that, like, that's yeah, the value of being able to, yeah, not feel alone, to cultivate community literally around the world in some of the most isolated places or isolated situations you could be feeling is what's fucking worth it. And having these conversations is what fuels that as well, because that's just an extra layer of we see you and you're not alone. So that's I can't thank you enough for your vulnerability. And that's why every time you're like, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent, I'm like, no, keep saying shit. This is perfect, because you always ended up tying it back to the question that I wanted to ask anyway. So it's, and that's, yeah. So I thank you so much for your vulnerability and your willingness to share, because I can only imagine how many people might, even if it's not something that's affecting their life, maybe it's something that's affecting someone they love or someone they love who they love. And it's just so valuable. So seriously, thank you so much for taking the time, dude. Like that's, I'm so jazzed we were able to make it work.
I wanted to ask you, like, just because I know you had touched on it a little bit recently, like with you going back with cannabis.
Yep.
I'm just trying to think of how I should word this. I'm always bad with like wording questions.
You're so good. Take your time.
Since you have gone back to using cannabis, and I feel like for you, at least how you've talked about it, is more, I guess, medicinal for you as well, you know? Do you feel in your short amount of time back in that it is benefiting you in any way? Do you feel like how I talked about a little bit? And I only ask because I think it might be something for you to research a little bit. Seriously, I don't know if bud tenders out there are good at all, or if you go to a dispensary or not, but maybe if you are feeling that cannabis is helping benefit you with some of this, maybe doing some research on it, or if you haven't already, or if you have, I'm sorry, should be the question.
Yeah.
Maybe trying with some of these different terps, because I promise you, brother, it helped me beyond measure.
Yeah.
Because I was just, all right. So when I first got on, to just put this in perspective, when I first got on medical marijuana, everything that I bought strain wise was heavy indica.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because it was so close to the heroin feeling, that zombie, like, I'm knocked out of it. I mean, there was times where I would smoke so much indica that I would be nodding out.
Oh yeah.
I would sit there in my chair and I'd be like, like drooling on myself almost. And that was a big thing. But then I was like, all right, well, maybe I need to try sativa. And I'm like, well, you're ADHD. And then it was like a polar opposite effect. Like I said, I was getting like these panic attack almost feelings. So I just sat there one day and I told they were like, well, you can talk to the pharmacist. So I was like, cool. And I went and I sat with the pharmacist at the dispo for like 30 minutes. I was like, look, I've been trying to keep like notes of the different strains and what's in them and how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
And they sat down with me a little bit. It took a little bit of time, but they went, hey, maybe. And I tried a few strains and it's been life-changing. So I'm hoping, if that's something that you haven't tried, and obviously I don't want you to I don't want anybody to be dependent on any substance.
Oh yeah.
But I'm really firm believer in, like me, like I said, I've never been diagnosed, but if I would have been diagnosed like with clinical depression or whatever, I would have done everything in my power to try to find as natural a remedy as possible before taking some prescription drug, you know?
Totally.
So I think that's where I was going with it is, do you feel like cannabis is something that in this short amount of time since you've gone back, because I don't know how long you abstained. And I mean, know, like it's in your system for a little bit. Yeah. And I know you're very active and healthy. Oh, yeah. So it's not in your system as long, but I mean, did you notice from like, okay, I abstained for X amount of time, I felt this way, and now that I'm starting to medicate a little bit more, you know, have you noticed a difference or any sort of progress maybe, or is there something that...
For me, it's not even necessarily the weed in and of itself. Because I've been smoking for like 6 or 7 years now, and my whole thing is the munchies. No matter what the percentage is, no matter what strain it is, there is a certain amount of time that after I smoke, no matter what, I'm getting the munchies. And there is nothing you can do to stop me from eating everything until I just want to go to sleep. It's like, there are like, it's beneficial for the first 2 hours when I smoke. And then my body just goes, cool, couch, food, bring it on. And
same with edibles.
Same with edibles. And so that's why I and no matter what bud tender, no matter what, I'm like, hey, something with that doesn't give me the munchies. And they're, oh, try this. Nope, fucking munchies. Something else. Nope, fucking munchies. And so my experience is someone who is also riddled with the ADHD is it's the dopamine that I get from smoking. And then it's also because my mind doesn't stop, it's also the break. And so my goal is, since I haven't been able to separate, and it's like the amount of times that I'll be good for a few days and then something bad happens and then my brain just goes, oh my gosh, good feelings, food. So it's been, I will say, damn near impossible for me to be able to split the two. But when I think I made it around 2 weeks or so, a little over 2 weeks. And it just got to the point where I shared a clip with Theo Vaughn the other day where it's the ability to actually get to my baseline of just maybe say peace. If it goes because I am actually diagnosed with, my anxiety is worse, but then it's anxiety, depression, and then riddled with the ADHD. And so when I had gone sober, it's like after the first week or so, it got to be where it didn't matter if I went to jujitsu. It didn't matter if I hung out with my friends. It didn't matter if I had a great stream. The second that joy or whatever piece left, I was back at fucking square one and just felt like I want to go to bed. Like, this is fucking miserable. This is horrible. I'm not even enjoying life right now. I'm literally living to go to the gym, get stream out of the way, and then go to sleep. So that's why I was finally like, you know what, dude, I'm going to go get a joint. I'm sick and tired of feeling down like this. And so I have a meeting in a little over a week to finally maybe get an Adderall or something that will help get that baseline just up a little bit. But for now, it's like, it helps until it doesn't, to an extent, you know? And so I haven't been able to find a remedy for the munchy part. There is literally nothing that satisfies. Like, I will be hanging out with friends and then that munchy part is like, oh no, we're done with friends. Let's go to the couch. Like, that's just what it is. And so that's why I'm struggling so much with again, it helps for a little bit. It helps me like relax and get that escape. But then again, if I have something in my cabinet that is appetizing enough, I'm going to eat it until I feel sick. So yeah, that's just the struggle. And maybe I can.
Have you tried maybe? I'm obviously.
No, please, spitball. Always.
Fix it all.
Always. I'm always open to suggestions.
Because I suffer from this. I mean, I really do. I mean, because I smoke a lot while I'm creating content.
Yeah.
So obviously I can't just get up. I mean, I can go grab a bag of chips or this or that or whatever. What I started doing is, because I do the same thing. A minute I close stream, I mean, I do usually 2 back-to-back big old rips, right?
Yeah.
And then within 30, 40 minutes, I am off to the races. Food. And I'm talking, the only difference is I don't go, what I've noticed I started doing is, and I say it might work for you, actually cooking the food when you're having the munchies. And it doesn't have to be like really good, healthy food. But I feel like for me, because all right, this is a big thing I cook when I get really hungry. I call them gravy cheese fries. Okay. I deep fry them. I don't even air fry them. Okay. So I gotta, but this is what I'm saying. This time, pup, like, it takes me like 40 minutes to do all this. So I'm like snacking a little bit, on chips or, like I love the black bean, and I think it's black bean and garlic Tostitos, chips. So I'll like smack a bunch of them while I'm deep frying my French fries. And then you put beef gravy over it. So I got to like simmer the beef gravy because I buy it in a jar. I doctor it up with some salt and pepper. And then So that all takes like 40 minutes to do. And then I have this big monster order of gravy cheese fries. It's French fries, beef gravy, and provolone cheese on top. And I eat that usually all to the face, or the wife sits there with a fork and eats some of it too. But usually, by the time I eat that, I'm full, I'm content, and I am like, I've burnt up over an hour, you know what I mean? And then I'm eating and I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah, see, that's...
I'm not trying to be Mr. Fix It.
Oh, no, please,
I'm
again, suggestions. That's the only difference that you mentioned is content. The only time is that I'm content.
Not content after that.
Nope, not at all. Until there's no food or I feel like I will not get sick.
It's not funny.
Oh, no, it's fucking hilarious. Like, it drives me... Totally... It's wild. It's wild that is just... Yeah, no, there's... because I did the same thing. I made... a big, like 5 pounds of teriyaki chicken. And so I had a big chicken bowl with rice, and I was like, you know what? That's not enough. So I had another big chicken bowl with rice, and I was like, you know what? That's not enough. And then I had half a bag of freaking maple pecan oat clusters that are supposed to go in my yogurt. And then it's like, that's not enough. We should also have, so it's like,
well, that is my, so your chat knows that is my American version of poutine.
Yeah. Okay. That's everyone.
Essentially, that. Yeah. It's essentially American version of poutine. Yes. They use cheese curds typically, like traditionally. And, yeah. But nah, man, I'm trying to think like,
no, you're so good.
I very much get the same way. And then I wake up the next morning and I feel like a complete and utter piece of shit.
Oh,
because typically what I eat is terrible. Like, oh my God, if I showed you this box that just got delivered to me, pup, I still eat jail food, bro.
I mean, it hits a spot. It has a certain feeling.
It really does. I mean, I have literally Wagyu. I have American Wagyu, I have Australian Wagyu, and I have full Japanese A5 Kobe Wagyu steaks in my freezer. And yet I still spend about $150 a month from this place out of Illinois, and I get commissary food. And typically, like, if I don't want to do gravy cheese fries, 10 or 11 o'clock at night, I'm making my jail fried rice. It's literally tastes like fried rice. It's so good, but it's so bad for you because it's all bioengineered food.
Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, it's an extra large Domino's pizza, is 2 bags of popcorners, and then half a box of extra toasty Cheez-Its. Like, again, I'm not reaching for anything healthy either. Yeah.
We're terrible.
Yeah. But
to talk on that, though, I mean,
it just doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop, but think about, and I only say this because I feel when I say like, hey, we're spirit animals and shit like that, I feel like we have a lot of the same ups and downs in terms of like with our mental state, with our health. Now, granted, and then, I'm just being very
say your words.
Like I'm very blessed that I have my wife.
Yeah.
Like you said, when you end everything, you're left with yourself. And I mean, I hate that for you. And
thanks. I'm not too jazzed on it myself, but we deal.
Not fond of it either. Yeah, I know. And it's like, not everybody gets that. So, yes, I'm very blessed when I get off. I do have that companionship and all, but even though I have that, I still go to the food.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a comfort thing and eat. And then I wake up the next morning and I feel like a complete and utter piece of garbage. Yeah. And then I don't go to the gym on top of it.
Oh, yeah.
So you're like, believe me, when it comes to like the mental to a degree, I can empathize completely. And I hate when people say like, oh, it's only going to get better. Like, no, motherfucker, I've been dealing with this for how long, or like, yeah, I appreciate it, but like, that's not cutting it for me. Or like, that's not going to make me not want to not get out of bed for 18 hours, even though my back hurts and I need to get out of bed, So, and I know you probably hear it all the time, but dude, seriously, I'm going to send you my my cell and Twitter, and I'm 4 hours ahead of you. So
4?
I'm usually, well, you're West Coast, right?
No, I'm in Denver. You're 2 hours.
Oh, you're mid. Oh shit. Well, it's even better. I don't know why I thought you were West Coast.
I used to be,
dude. Yeah. Just text me, man. Seriously. I know it doesn't give you that companionship right then and there at that moment to have, and I know you, like you said, sometimes even being with your friends, you just want to leave, but I know how important it is to have just somebody's phone number or know that I can DM them and they're gonna keep it a buck with me too.
Yeah.
Not give you the, oh well, just take a nap and it's gonna be okay. Like, no, motherfucker, that's not what I need to hear right now. Like, I need some realness right now. Like, and that's what the reason I say that is because I have been through so much. I haven't been through everything. Typically, I can either empathize or sympathize with the situation, and something in me, even though I can be very consoling and be a good friend, I still am always that person that's not playing the devil's advocate, but like kicking you in the ass, kind of. Like, you know what I mean? Like, motherfucker, you're better than this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got people depending on, whatever those words that you need to hear at that time. And usually it's, what to say at that time, but I feel like too many people, at least as content creators, can say, yeah, my DMs are always open, right? And I'll just use this as an example. My grandmother passed. I was very reluctant to make a post, but as a content creator as well, we got to keep our communities informed and why we're not going to be, live for 2 days. And I did. I had a lot of people that, commented. I had a few people that reached out to me in my DMs, you being one of those people. I had even a new content creator. She's amazing. Her and her boyfriend sent me flowers to us. Yeah. Like, so I feel like there are a lot of people that are, at face value can put off this, oh, I care about you persona. My DMs are always open. But again, I'm not saying everybody needed to be kissing my ass, but you, and not just because I'm on here with you, and a few other people still reached out to me even a few days after. Hey man, how are you holding up? Because it's the genuineness, the sincereness, and because just good human beings, and it's not the fakeness and just the feeding you the bullshit because they're live or whatever to look good. You know what I mean? So to have that, I have a few people that, like I say, that have always been genuine and care and reach out even after the fact. I just feel like, not it's my duty, but because I'm that type of person, I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice by not making myself available to people that need me. Again, I signed up for it as a content creator. My wife's huge on human design. That's something I don't know if you've ever looked into, but if you haven't, I would say I'll get you to send me your information, and my wife will do your human design chart. She loves that stuff. And my wife's an English major.
Oh, nice.
And she's got a ton of literature on this. A friend of hers does it and got her into it. And that's helped us a lot as a couple and as individuals, knowing our human design, because it takes a lot from astrology. It takes a lot from astrophysics, and it takes a lot from, has a lot to do with your chakra system and stuff like that as well. And it's a culmination of all of it, man. And she was just talking about it, that something with one of the moons right now. And it's a fact. A lot of people that I know right now are breaking up, getting divorced, doing whatever. And that was because of their moon sign or something like that, something to do with their human design.
Interesting.
But seriously, yeah, I'm serious. If that's something you've never looked into, and I know I feel like that would really be up your alley.
I'm intrigued and apprehensive. I have a, what's the word I like? I have a, trying to phrase it. I don't like necessarily being told who I am. Not that is what that is, but I'm very, again, that's why even when I'm not that, I love how I'm saying I'm not that religious. I'm not necessarily religious, but even when it came to when I was still a quote unquote Christian, I hated the label Christian because it automatically, you inherently come to an assumption of what you think I might believe. So when it comes to Enneagrams, when it comes to horoscopes, when it comes to all those signs, I become against it and apprehensive. I shouldn't say against it. I just don't
very apprehensive.
Yeah, very apprehensive because I don't like, oh, just because you are this, that means you're this. It seems my brain takes it as limiting, even though, again, it's only things that you could potentially learn about yourself that you don't have to have a committed relationship with. So that's why it's like, I'm intrigued, but also I know that I can come in with a bit of apprehension or a little bit of a block. But yeah, I'm still very...
I could, and again, I'm only speaking off of, and I could be, I'd have to yell there for her to come in here, but I want to say that is one of the good things, because it's not really telling you so much. Because, for instance, again, I don't know as much, I'm speaking a little loosely, like, for instance, like, it talks about like defined centers and stuff like that, like in terms of chakras and all, but it's not saying, babe, come here. Because I hate like giving misinformation.
Also, I don't know if something just happened with your mic or if there's something in the background, but it sounds like a like slight static. You're good.
I'm sorry. That was my torch.
Oh, nice.
I thought I had my mic moved away. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm trying to explain human design to puppies, and which I totally understand where he's coming from. So essentially, he's like, I can be very apprehensive with stuff like that, with like horoscopes and all, where it kind of tells you who you are. Because I get it, at least for me, sometimes I don't want to know those things. Like, but that's not really human design, right? Because it's, I mean, you're talking about like defined centers and stuff like that, and like you.
I can't hear her if she's talking.
Come on closer. Sorry.
It takes the I Ching. It takes the I Ching, the chakra system, astrology, and astrophysics, I think was the other one.
Yeah.
And it combines it all together.
Okay.
So, well, talk more on like the defined centers and stuff real quick. I know I don't want to take too much.
No pressure.
Well, because like I was trying to say, like how you've explained to me us as partners, where I might be missing a portion of one of my centers or something like that, like you fill that. You know what I mean?
When you do a human design chart, it'll look similar to like a chakra system chart, where like you'll have certain types of energies that are automatically there based on the date and the time you were born. But also it depends on like what's like where the planets are right now for it to like give you energy in certain other parts. So if that makes sense, I'm not very good at explaining it.
No, I mean that does make it. That's also, he definitely also totally put you
on the spot.
On the spot. No, that makes complete sense.
So for instance, like I mean, we can always talk off, and if you would be interested, because she so essentially, like if you're like, yep, Chad, I'm interested, you know, the wife, you would just give her like where you were born, what city you were born in, and what time you were born in. That's all you need. The date, city, and with that, like I found out that I'm a projector.
Okay.
So essentially I project other people's energy. For the most part. So I pick up on people's energy. So that's another reason I'm kind of glad we went into this. That's kind of what made me pull away from a lot of the creators that I had aligned myself with in Facebook.
Okay.
Because me being a projector, them putting out this bad energy constantly and negative thoughts and all, I project that those thoughts and feelings and energy come through me, and then that is what I project back out to people. So I really noticed having these people in my life when I was playing Warzone. Like if you saw me on Facebook, like when I first started playing, I was like the biggest rager you would ever have met. Like, dude, vein in my forehead, screaming at my monitor, like just looked like a complete dickhead. Seriously. And there was people that loved it. They thought it was funny. But again, when I separated myself with a lot of people, and like I said, I started to try to align myself with new people, dude, the energy that I project now, and it can change, obviously, because you can walk into a room and there can be some really negative energy.
Oh,
It
yeah.
happened to me at a tattoo parlor in Alabama recently. I went in, now mind you, and I'm very open about this, I contracted hepatitis C.
Okay.
Because I was an IV drug user. And my tattoo artist knows I have hepatitis C. He's like, I told him from day one when I found out, he's like, dude,
we literally have to take classes and shit and precautions against this. You know what I mean?
Oh,
From
shit.
bleeding out
Nice.
blood. So when I went to get this tattoo in Alabama, I filled out the paperwork. I checked yes. That I had, and this is like the top-notch tattoo parlor in Birmingham. Okay. I flew down there. A buddy of mine, he's a content creator as well. My buddy Truly, he had hit a star goal and he was getting his first tattoo ever. Him and I have been really close. I was like, brother, if you hit your goal, I'll fly down there and I'll get a tattoo with you. Cause I'm inked up, you know. I was like, it ain't nothing for me to get another tattoo.
Right.
I've reached out to these people months in advance because I found one of their artists that did like very similar work like I like sacred geometry, really heavy black and white work, you know what I'm saying? Gray shading, stuff like that. And she's like, hey, I broke my hand. I don't know if I'll be able to tattoo you, but reach out to us like a week or two before you come down. And if I'm back, I'll get you in the books.
Nice.
So they told me just to come down. She wasn't going to be able to tattoo me, right? I would have to be a walk-in. So I go down there that day. My buddy goes back in the back. I fill out the paperwork and I ask him, I said, you know, I had reached out. That's why this is kind of last minute. Do you guys have any flash that I can pick from? They're like, no, we don't do that here. I'm like, really? You don't have flash art? I'm like, you know, I've been in the like hundreds of tattoo shops and they always have at least one artist doing flash art, you know, doing walk-ins. So they're like, nah, we're really only like typically appointment only. So I'm like, okay, do you have anybody available that can do this style work? Can you show me their things and I'll check their portfolios out real quick? I'm going to be here for a while. My buddy's getting tattooed. He's getting a full forearm piece. So maybe 5 minutes I'm looking through portfolios and I'm already been rushed. They asked me like 3 times, am I ready? So I finally find this artist, find something I wanted. He's like, yeah, man, I'm going to go back. He's like, first question, you know, which I respect. He's like, what are you looking to pay on this? I was like, I don't have a price limit, dude. I said, this is the size I want. This is the idea I want. I want some color in it. You know, I was going to put it right above my knee at the bottom of my thigh.
Nice.
And just it was going to be like an eye with wings, whatever. My tattoo artist would have charged me like $350 or something like that. And if you saw my work, pups, you'd be like, he does really good work. This guy, I was like, you know, figuring $500 to $700, whatever it is, what it is. So he's like, all right, I'm going to go back, draw it up. The girl gives me the paper. I fill out the paper. I check yes for hepatitis. Give it back to her. Now it's her and 2 other apprentices behind the desk. I see her go to both apprentices, point to... I'm not stupid. You know what I'm saying? I can read your body language and see you pointing to the paper I just handed you.
You weren't confused on my last name.
Yeah, you're asking what you should be doing since I marked yes on for hepatitis. Now you've disclosed my personal information to 2 other apprentices. They're not even artists, okay? I've always been a firm believer, if you're asking questions that are HIPAA related, you should treat those customers as if you're a doctor and they're a patient then, and that information is confidential, right?
Yeah.
So she then, after asking them to, goes back to the artist's booth. Not even a minute later, he comes out. Now he is 8 feet from me. I'm sitting on a sofa in the lobby, and he says, and he looks at the paper, hey man, did you mean to check yes for hepatitis on your thing? Now, mind you, there's 2 other customers sitting there.
Jesus Christ.
So I literally just got like, you ever get the feeling where you're just like embarrassed and like angry, and you get that prickly feeling and you get really warm? Not like I wanted to punch the guy, but I was just like so embarrassed and like frustrated.
It's like angst almost.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm like, well, yeah, dude. I said, I did. I mean, I'm just trying to be honest with you. I said, I would feel terrible if I didn't fucking tell you that. And God forbid. Now, if anyone knows too, to get hepatitis C, you need like extended blood to blood, you know, to catch it.
Okay.
But regardless, I was like, well, yeah. He's like, well, unfortunately, man, I'm not gonna be able to tattoo you. And I was like, really? And I was like, look, I start looking down at my arms and all and my legs, because I have like really intricate work, fresh work. And I'm like, really? I was like, well, I guess I'll just stick with my tattoo artist then. And I said, have a good day. And I left. And nice. I texted my buddy and I said, hey, brother. Now, mind you, when I walked in, this place is like painted all black.
tinted windows. It's built into the side of a building, into a hill. And when you went in there, it was so dark. The ambiance was like very sinister, very, you know what I'm saying? I've never been in it. I mean, usually going to a tattoo shop and it's very well lit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dude, so dark and ominous, like, yeah, very weird. And like I said, I got very bad energy. And when I texted somebody, I was like, hey, I'm going back to the hotel, man. You know, told him what happened. The dude that was tattooing him was like, what the fuck? He's like, they just fucking turned him away for that. He's like, and he's the one that even said, like, bro, we literally take precautions for stuff like that with gloves and this and that and da 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 da. And I'm like, I said, hey man, I don't care. It is what it is. And so I wrote them a 3-star review. I wasn't a dickhead because I'm a business owner.
Good for you for 3 stars. I would have.
I didn't
gotten a little lower.
I know. I didn't. But I've had people leave me really shitty reviews, pub, over some petty ass stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, this dude left me 3 stars and made no complaints. Just said that we were a little higher priced. So I'm just like, really, not 4 stars. But so I just said, hey, reason for 3 stars. You know, I felt like you guys would handle things like this, private medical information, a little more publicly instead of. Now, mind you, you've already fucking blasted my information, everybody in the shop that day.
Yeah.
So I didn't care at that point. I'm like, but to, you know, disclose that someone has hepatitis in the lobby in front of all the customers is very unprofessional. I said, I respect your guys' choice to not tattoo me, but maybe in the future you'd want to handle things a little more discreetly and professionally. And their response was pretty much, you're stupid. You literally just put it out on the internet that you have hepatitis C. Whatever. I could go back and read you the exact response. And I'm like, really? That's how you respond? And then my buddy tells me, in the time that I left, they turned away 4 other customers that came in for walk-ins. A husband and a wife wanted to get, and they only knew this because they were outside vaping and the people came out. And they wanted to get like matching birds, a husband and a wife. They said, we don't do that kind of stuff. And
what does that mean?
Dude, they literally were like, yeah, like when he asked me what I wanted, I'm like, bro, like literally, it isn't like I come in here and I have like trashy like jail tats, you know, and I know some jail tattoos that are fucking insanely good.
My artist started tattooing in jail. That's like
it's great. Yeah. And I'm just like, dude, are you serious? I'm like, when I was sitting out front, pups, waiting, this dude pulls up. I just think I'm gonna be honest. I saw one black artist in there. If I'm gonna just keep it real with you, I think it was just a racist thing, dude, or like pompous yuppie. Like that's what we call yuppies, people like that are really fucking douchey. Because this dude pulls up. He was either mixed or light skinned boy, right? Dreads, pulled up. I was sitting out front vaping, waiting. And he came up when he like rolled down. So he's like, hey, man, I'm not good at parallel parking. Am I close enough to the curb? I'm like, yeah, bro. I was like, bro, you might want to get a little bit further in. I was like, I don't know how they are down here. I said, but up north, you got to be at least 12 inches to even pass the test, right?
Oh, my God.
He like whipped the car in a little bit closer. He's like, thank you, man. Appreciate you, bro. And I was like, what are you going in to get some work done? He's like, no, I'm actually going in to drop off my portfolio. I was like, oh, bet. Good luck, man. Goes in. I mean, he came back out not even 2 minutes later, not even with this portfolio in his hand. I was like, how did it go, man? He's like, they wouldn't even look at it.
What?
Like, what? Yeah. So I just, you know, there was so many red flags and, you know, people are just, but then I'm going to be honest, man, I went to so many other places down in Alabama and really lived up to the true term, like Southern hospitality.
Yeah.
I mean, just awesome ass people, dude. It didn't matter if I went I walked into Walmart with him. We went in, he took me into this barbecue spot that's really known. I can't remember the name of it. I tried my first Whataburger. Like just, you know, took me into a bunch of different places and literally the epitome of Southern hospitality. But it's just, you know, when you go to places like that and see that, and where I grew up in Baltimore, hey, we talked about moving to Florida for a long time. Fuck Florida, dude. Fuck DeSantis.
Yeah.
Like my wife is first generation Mexican, dude.
Oh, nice.
You know, so like I also found this out. We couldn't legally, even though we're married up here, we couldn't legally move to Tennessee. You know that?
No.
and be married? Oh yeah. She just told me part of a law that Tennessee just passed recently under, I'd have to go ask her again. Under that pretty much bans, it was under their, because you can't have same-sex marriage. That's what it fell under. That's what they, under that law, has to do with mixed race marriage as well. Yeah. So being that I am a Caucasian white male and my wife is Hispanic, technically, like, our marriage wouldn't be recognized or something like down there. Yeah.
What
yeah, dude.
the
It's
fuck is happening?
Isn't it still? Yeah. And you got DeSantis down there in Florida being a fucking Nazi, pretty much. Like, this is the Fourth Reich. Well, that's what the United States has been called anyway, numerous times.
That's I don't want to depress myself even further. That's
Me
why
neither.
I stay off
I know.
of those.
But yeah,
Jesus
I'm just like,
fuck.
Because we've talked, like, we want to get out of PA because it's just, this is a very terrible state to live in my opinion. And we don't want to go back to Maryland. It's so freaking expensive. And I'm like, I tell her, I'm like, well, where are we going to move?
Yeah.
I mean,
Colorado's nice.
How are they out there with vape? Like, I'd have to
Oh,
see
there's
the vape
plenty of
laws
vape
are.
shops. Or vape shops. Yeah.
I would just have to see what the taxes are because that's the big thing.
I don't know for business, but I know the taxes are lesser. 8 maybe.
Oh, that's not bad. I'm 6% in Maryland.
Yeah, I want to say like 8 point something, or it's either 7 to 8.
It's still not bad, but that was like the reason for instance, we were thinking of going to Florida because there's no sales tax. So, like, for instance, I have to collect sales tax for the shop, and we used to pay monthly. We pay quarter. I think we're back to quarterly. Well, dude, I do roughly between $60,000 and $80,000 a month in sales. Well, we have to collect 6% sales tax, and I have to collect an additional 6% vapor tax.
What?
So out of those sales, we are responsible for withholding 12% tax from all of it, and then I have to send that into the state every month, and that's usually between $6,000 and $10,000.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
Colorado sales tax is just 2.9, but where I live, it's 7. The whole tax rate 7.5.
That's still not bad, though.
No,
that's really not bad because there's certain states that are. I mean, New York, let's look at New York, for instance. I think their sales tax is like, what, 15% or something? Outrageous.
Something disgusting.
Yeah, because cigarettes. That's another reason why I'm glad I stopped smoking cigarettes. I went to New York pubs before. I remember I bought a pack of cigarettes up there. It was like, when it was like, I used to smoke Newport 100. So I used to get them and they were like $6.63. And I remember I went to New York and they were like $10. And it was like the following year, maybe, or something like that, after they had like increased the tax, I went back up there. It was like $15 for a pack of smokes. I was like, no.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy the money that they bleed out of you. Which is why, again, I'm in Colorado as opposed to California. I was like, I'm good. Luckily, I started an LLC out here, so that's saved me money as well. But yeah, dude,
I wanted to ask you real quick. Do you have because I know you obviously do multiple things, have multiple streams of revenue, kind of like myself. Do you have a local accountant like CPA that you use, or did you find someone maybe recommended? Because I'm a partner with AIM. Brendan had on these two guys. They're like tax accountants.
Yep.
And they pretty much they've handled some big names. The one guy's called like the gamer.
Yeah, the gamer. Yeah.
Accountant. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I follow those guys. Yep.
Okay. I'm just because I'm, and I don't know with you setting up your LLC, if you did it for I Got Puppies or not or whatever. Like, I've been being told frequently that like we can write off like where you're at right now. That's your office for your stream. You can write off part of your electric bill, part of your email, or part of your Wi-Fi.
Yep.
Like so.
Yeah.
The current CPA we have, I'm either going to try these guys if they're able to file for us in PA, Maryland jointly, or I've been trying to maybe pick a few other people's brains like yourself. Hey, maybe a recommendation.
Yeah, I got a recommendation. I think my guy's based out of Florida, but he handles Colorado and something else. But yeah, I could shoot him a message and see what.
Legend.
Yeah, it's super easy. Just remind me. I also included my. I shot you a DM of my birth location, time, and date, and all that shit. So we'll see.
2 years younger than me, you young little hoe.
Yeah, 30. It's just the mustache makes me look older. That's why I keep
Baby.
it. Dude,
Well, you know what they say to me? Jail preserved me.
that's, I mean,
Here, and I'm gonna send you my info here, so you have my.
I was listening to Brandon Novak, and he was talking to Bert,
amazing.
and yeah, he was saying the same thing. He's like, because I think his thing was heroin as well, and he said, it either makes you look incredibly withered or it keeps you looking young, and he's like, it helped me look young. So it seems like you guys both benefited. The only recognized benefit, it seems, of
I kept my teeth. I kept all my teeth.
There you go, dude. Look at you. Isn't it they start to smoke it?
Dude, they get no, for instance, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people, what happens is, man, with the heroin, they will start smoking, but a lot of people start doing because you don't have the money, man. And the states will fund you for methadone, right?
Yeah.
The methadone starts to rot your bones from the inside out. That's why I was talking about my dad's buddy had his knees replaced, and your teeth just start rotting. And happened to my brother. My brother's teeth started falling out, man. It literally deteriorates everything. And I'm just like, and you know who developed methadone? The Nazis, baby.
Oh,
Germany.
sick.
Yeah, they used to give liquid method. It was called methadose, I believe, in its pure form. They used to give it to their soldiers because it increases your heart rate and it elevates your body temperature. You get this supernatural feeling almost. Yeah. Well, the Nazis were, they used to give their guys methamphetamines.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You always got to keep going.
Yeah. But anything. I'm just so advocate against that stuff, man, because I know what it does to your body and all.
Oh yeah,
but I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Holy hell!
You're so good.
Where I went with the methadone and all, but yeah, I will have. Oh, because we were talking about it preserving us and stuff like that, and people smoke. You asked if people were smoking it and stuff like that. Yeah, it just destroys your body, dude. In so many different ways. But no, I am gonna too. I'll have because like I say, she loves doing that stuff, and I think it's really cool because like I said, it opened up my eyes to some things, like seeing like my charts and stuff like that, which was really refreshing. And I know where we were. My brain went back because we were talking about Brandon Novak.
Yep.
It did. It preserved me, dude. It was that in jail. And coincidentally, I think he either grew up not far from me in Maryland.
Really?
Or his mom or whoever resides in Maryland. Because I actually saw him in a restaurant like 2 months ago. There's a really good spot. It's actually right around the corner from my shop. It's called Pappas. If you like crab cakes, by the way, they deliver nationwide. You can order them and they're frozen. They send them out to you. They're not as good as when you get them there, but they're still
naturally
really
not.
Good.
Okay.
But yeah, he was there, and I was like, oh, I told my wife, I was like, that's Brandon Novak. And I wanted to go up and say hi to him and all, but he was with his family. I think it was Mother's Day this past year. It was either Mother's Day or when I took the guys and girls that work for me out for, I think it might have been that. I took them out, for like a company dinner. But yeah, he's another amazing soul, dude. His story is awesome.
I was enthralled. I was watching a lot of that. Was it yesterday before or when I got home? One of those. And I think I still have to finish the episode, but it was, it's insane. It's insane. Very similar to yours in a way.
That's what I say. I've watched a lot of his. Obviously he was a pro skater, and got in, with Jackass, he had his part and all that, but yeah, dude. I believe he has spoken because I think he's still pretty active in like AA or NA or one of them.
I think he has a bunch of treatment centers.
Yeah, he spoke at they brought him in. One of my friends was celebrating or something. He was there. He was as a speaker or something like that. So, he's a really, really, really good fucking person, man. When you see somebody's story like that and it's so similar to yourself, similar upbringings, but like obviously his start, he made it to stardom essentially and was, in the limelight. Like it doesn't matter, man. That's why I tell people, like, you could be a fucking pro skateboarder, musician, whatever, politician, whoever, man, or you could come from the slums, your family it just be a generational thing, it does not discriminate. So
that's why I talk about it a lot. I feel like people need to be open about it, and I hate to use like NA and AA slangs, like share your experience, strength, and hope with people, man. Because sometimes you can save not sometimes, a lot of times you can save somebody's life and not even know it.
Yeah.
So, no, yeah, I appreciate you sincerely,
dude. You
I'm
as
so
well.
glad.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we got to do this. I'm always open. I mean, whether it's about business stuff, because I love talking about like vaping and that, and like trying to do different things to expand content. I mean, I was at one point, I mean, I'm still would love to do it, love to actually build a real, like, in my opinion, what I think a real gaming organization should be, like a tier 1 gaming org.
Yeah.
And I was doing my research on that with investors and stuff like that, because what a lot of people don't know, and I'll just use one, like 100 Thieves, for instance, Nate Shot. If you look, because you can go and look at corporations and stuff like that, he had angel investors to start 100 Thieves and all.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so like it's possible to do this, and I share this with people because, like, I mean, obviously he had a huge platform, a huge following. He's a crazy content creator and comp player, but I just really, I mean, just look at what some of the orgs are going through, and you see, like, I don't know if you watch any comp play like ALGS or World Series.
On occasion, yeah.
Do you? I mean, you see, like after a certain stage or a major or something like that, you hear all this like hate coming from inside these orgs, and they're making roster changes. I mean, you're never going to really get rid of that, but like, I feel like they can do better. I'll just say it that way. And I feel like I want to start an org that just does better, you know, for their, you know, communities. Because, for instance, like I'm Optic member, Gold member, right?
Okay.
Optic Gold member. So when they hosted the majors, their tickets went on sale, right? And we got VIP access the day before. Now, is it like, I forget what time, 10 a.m. or something, they went live. I was on at like 10:20 a.m. All the tickets were sold out.
Oh, yeah, that's Optic for you.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. They were letting people, you know, buy, you know, 50 tickets, and then people were scalping them.
Oh, but I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's why I'm like, dude, I don't want it to be like that. I mean, yes, it's an organization, it's a business, right? It's the same thing with Kick, and I know you can relate to this. Kick is a business, so they're not going to give contracts to every person. People were thinking this too. If you got a verified badge, you know, if you got that check mark, you know, when they were talking about rolling out the hourly rate and stuff like that, people thought just because they were verified, they were going to get this 15 or 16 bucks an hour. And I'm like, I have to be the voice of reason as a business owner. I'm like, you guys don't understand. Let's say there's just 10,000 creators on Kick, which there's way more. If you're giving every one of those people an hourly rate, they are now employees. They are receiving a W-2. They are supposed to get paid breaks. I mean, the list goes on and on. Health insurance becomes a thing. So much workers' comp insurance, overtime. I'm like, you guys don't understand the legalities and what really goes into this if, you know, to start doing those things. And I'm like, they're not just going to hand it out to everybody.
No. Even I got lucky with my check mark. I still don't even qualify for it with the new standards they set. So I was like, I got in at the perfect time.
Regardless, though, you see certain people, I don't feel like cut corners. Some people have their own 2 cents to put on that. And this is just coming from somebody without a green check mark. I feel like if you were a partnered creator on another platform and your community, you know, and the numbers were there and are still there.
Yeah, that's fair.
To be partnered. You know what I'm saying? For you to come over. Now, if you were like, hey, I was a partner on Mixer. No, fam.
Yeah.
Mixer's been dead for a few years. You know, yes, you're a partner coming over from Twitch. You're a partner coming over from YouTube. You're a partner coming over from Facebook Gaming with a current partner status, which a lot of you guys did. You just didn't renew contract. Well, I wouldn't have renewed from what I heard they were offering to a lot of people. Do the same work, no money now, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. And I'm like, so coming over here, I'm like, you guys just got to be realists, man. I'm like, do I want everyone to eat? Fuck yes. I want everybody to see. That's just the type of person a lot of us are, type of people a lot of us are. We, you know, but
a lot of us are realists as well and know that that's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
You know, I'm never going to be a Debbie Downer, whatever term you want to use. I mean, I'm always going to try and lift my friends up, but you know, I was in a podcast with some people on a Sunday morning, and like I Bleed Wardenall was in there, who's another partner from Facebook. And like, I was even saying too, a lot of these other guys are saying, guys, like, I know you don't want to hear it because people were talking about quitting their jobs. Oh, we're verified. We're going to be getting this $15-$16 an hour. I'm quitting my job. And I'm like, please don't quit your job.
Yeah. Don't do anything yet.
Don't do anything rash. You know, like, not until I said, and this is all speculation. This isn't even confirmed yet from, you know, any of the big hitters. I said, the moment you see something come rolling out from like Eddie or Andrew or, you know, someone with some power and a title at kick.com.
Yeah.
Then maybe, you know, and know that you meet the criteria 100%, you know, because oh man, I've seen it in the vape industry. So many times, time and again, people just think they can just jump into something and they're instantly going to make money. And then they wake up and their savings is gone and, you know, they're left with nothing. And I hate that. Oh my God, that's so terrible because it happens so much.
Oh yeah. You have to go about it intelligently, and especially when you're not in a place where you know exactly how much money you're going to be making every day. You need to be doing shit smarter. So that's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you
we
not
didn't start making,
yeah,
it took us almost 4 years to start turning a profit, and I was stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, I pulled money from my shop like I shouldn't have. But like I told people, I'm like, dude, yeah, it's almost like for you to run a successful business, it can take almost 5 years before, as a business owner, you can really start to pay yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, I always, like I say, I want the best for everybody, but it's sad.
It is, man.
But
all we can do is hope to be better and hope it just not stopping. It's the only way to prevent the lack of success. Is just don't quit. And then you're good.
You got it.
Dude.
No, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. This has been a treat. I'm excited to get this out and keep getting to know you, man. Truly.
No, I appreciate you. I hope to do it again soon. And hey, I know you have your regular squad with COD and all, but if you ever want another yell at the screen, make you laugh as well, you know, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and COD, my DMs are always open, fam. I'm always down to grind.
Appreciate it,
and
dude.
I don't know. Do you play Apex at all, Pup?
A little bit. Okay. Yeah. A little bit. I'm kind of getting away from like, shooters to an extent. Shooters? Yeah. Just I want to be able to make specific content, and it's been easier to think of with other games as opposed to just getting into another shooter and being bad and then getting frustrated at being bad because I like to be good. And so I'm not going to put myself through that frustration.
No, I totally agree.
We'll see. I don't know. My mind changes and then changes again every 3 minutes. So you never know what I'm actually going to do.
ADHD, right?
Yeah. So you never know what's going to be the focus for the day. And you never know what's going to be the focus for the next hour. And that's all we can do.
But no, I don't want to hold you. Like I say, I sent you my cell. If you ever need anything, I promise, doesn't matter day or night, hit me up.
We'll
try and link up here again soon.
Sounds good, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate you.
All right. Appreciate you. Have a good one. Much love, brother.
You as well. Bye.
Later.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was an amazing conversation with the one and only Prdgal. That was awesome. That's all I can say.